Hey everybody, welcome to the Growing with Fishes podcast. This week we're going to have Charlie Schultz on here. He's running a little late, but will be joining us here in a little bit. Um, uh, Pretty crazy week we've had here. I know I've had a pretty wild week of traveling and all kinds of other things. So I have more to tell you guys about that when I get back, I assure you. We have this trip I'm taking up to Portland. Just got to Portland a couple hours ago. Yeah, went to go see a really cool large extraction facility. I was not allowed to film, but it was really cool to go see so this was an incubator. It was really neat. This guy invited me to come in and check it out. And so these guys, think of it like an office or giant warehouse if it was cut up into like 8 or 10 little sections, and each one's doing a different type of extract. And they're all operating under one license, and they work together with like a distribution company. And I thought it was a really interesting model, a way for real small producers, mom and pop people just starting, trying to get started, to finally have an easy means to get off the ground, an easy means of taking care of the property, the licensing, and all the hassle part of the industry, so that you can kind of ease into it. You can focus on what you need to do, get your foot in the door, and then focus on, moving up to being that, separate, in a separate building and whatnot. So that was just a really cool concept and something I hadn't been exposed to before, and just something that I think would be you're going to see more and more of in the United States, as you see stuff take off. Maybe some more in the short term than the long term, but it was just really cool to see a bunch of different types of people. One guy was doing BHO stuff, one guy was doing ethanol stuff, one guy was doing, oh, he wasn't making BHO, but he was working with it to make something else. And it was just neat to see all these different everyone was doing something wildly different, but it was all cannabis related. It was just kind of neat. It was like going to Santa's pot workshop,
Nice.
You say it's on, Steve. You say it's only short term. I can see it being long term. It's like everybody buys their jelly at Ralph's or Albertsons or Walmart, whatever. But you still got a lot of people, that make that jelly for the county fair, whatever. I'm not so sure it's going to go away. You look at like the
Oh yeah.
craft beer. I think some of those folks are going to be there to stay.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see a connoisseur market open up, and that's what you're seeing a lot with a lot of states. And I know Canada has a micro farm license coming up in July, or for recreational. I know a lot of states. California has a couple that has a micro farm license as well. So you are seeing at least a space being put up. Granted, I don't agree if it's being regulated properly, but so let's go over introductions. I apologize, we kind of jumped in a little bit. We have Tommy with us.
Yeah, Tommy J here, Old Park Grows. Uh, Glad to be on the show. I missed you guys the last 2 weeks. Had some personal kind of stuff going on, but really glad to be back. I want to catch up with everybody and see what's going on.
Cool. And we got Roger with us as always.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Hey, Roger.
Hey, Roger.
Hey, Marty. Yeah, we got everybody here tonight, kind of, sort of. I mean, except for Brain Grow.
Oh, he's here. He's just on chat.
Oh, he's on chat? Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget Fish.
Oh, yeah. Fish isn't here either.
Oh,
Fish. I wonder what Fish is up to.
Our panel just keeps growing. It's awesome.
I know. At some point, I'm going to have to switch. Once I have a good internet connection at the house, I'll have to switch to something that allows me to do more than 10 people, and y'all have to switch to Skype or something, but I can handle that. But yeah, it's pretty cool that we're getting this. I'm glad to have Mr. Green Jean. Glad to have Mr. Green Jeans here again this week.
jeansgarden.com. I got a couple of girls over here too, in case we get lonely. Some pretty ladies. You could show and tell.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on. This is great. Last week I had just driven back from Northern California. I was like all beat and tired. Sorry if I didn't contribute much.
I do think we're gonna switch the after show into a separate show if we're gonna do one in the future, because it was kind of funny having like a 6-hour episode, but it was cool. There was a lot of like random weed talk afterwards. It was a few tangents, but.
Well, I talked to the fella that uses the urine in the coffee until like 5 a.m. after you guys left. We talked for another hour or two. He was quite something. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right offhand. Like I said, I just woke up from a nap. But yeah, we had the after hour show. Then you guys all left, and that guy came on like 5 minutes before everybody else was ready to leave. And I talked to him for a couple hours after that.
Roger, let me see if I'm hearing you. I'm getting old here.
So,
You're talking about somebody who pisses in their coffee? Urine in their
I'm
coffee?
telling you that they use urine and coffee and some other things to make an organic nutrient for their plants. And,
Man, that sounds even too wild then for California, dude.
What? No.
Yeah.
I've used, you do a 2 week.
It's viable. I mean, he does a viable way.
Yeah, what you
Go
do
ahead,
is
Steve.
you pee in a bottle and you let it sit for 2 weeks.
You guys are
and
for real. Okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. Actually, there's nutrients sold on the market that are derived from cow urine.
ammonia.
They're pure
ammonia.
ammonia. Crystallized ammonia is derived from usually cow urine or pig urine.
Uric acid.
We're just using fish urine, you guys. This is the aquaponics.
Yeah. So, but
Okay.
I myself have used that on organic gardens where you pee, ferment it for 2 weeks, put it in your compost pile. I don't put it on with the plants directly, but I'll put it in a compost or something like that and let it work into the soil mix and break down. But you wouldn't put, you can put it on a garden.
Yeah,
You could absolutely put it into a larva.
Urine from a bunch of rednecks at a tailgate party, right?
No.
Pissing on,
No,
it's on the compost pile.
Fair
I mean,
enough.
it's attracting the same nitrifying bacteria that we do with fish urine. It's not really any different. The input attracts what is going to eat it, and that's the microbe you get. It's just like, when people say, "Oh, well, you can use milk as a plant food," like, "Oh, well, you can, but it'd probably be better if you just fermented it and turned it into labs and added it that way." But still, adding raw milk to your, like to a tea or something like that would still attract labs eventually, but just in lower numbers and not as effective. And, so it's a sliding scale, but your input determines what you're going to attract. So in this case, nitrifying bacteria is going to be the result, whether it's our pee or pig pee or fish pee or whatever.
As the guy who works in the extraction side of this, I know what happens when you press things down. And I didn't understand where the sources were from. So for some reason, when I heard Roger talking about it, I'm thinking like, oh my God, the dude peed in this thing and made this stuff, And I'm just like, okay, now you got your Xanax in there, you got your this, that, and the other thing. We eat a different deal. And I know from concentrating stuff down, all those cooties get concentrated. So I'm totally happy with pig pee rather than what I was thinking. Like, no, you're not going to do that and put that on the girls, because I'm going to find that in the lab and it's not going to look good.
Yeah, well, he was real serious. He had a bunch of Mr. Green Jeans would have loved it because he had a bunch of plants growing in small pots too. And I mean, he was showing his plants and he showed his bottle of nutrients and and he was smoking it and we just went on and it was pretty interesting what he's come up with, because that's all he does. It's like it seemed like he was just in this little room, like in his own little world in there. And we talked about everything too. We didn't just talk about that, but he went over and over about it, and we came out of chat. He was in chat room last week, and then we invited him on. He wanted to get on. I mean, everybody was ready to wrap up the after show. And then he like, here, we're ready to sign off. And here comes another guest.
Let's invite him on sometime in the future.
Well, he might be there tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I sent him an invite just so you're aware, those two guys that joined at the end listening.
Yeah, because live, it'd be a hoot to let him have a segment live and hear people because we get it on the forum all the time. Some guy comes on and talks about using urine in his garden, and everybody starts freaking out. But if you know what you're doing, you actually, I've heard of it many, many times. It's it's a highly viable.
Straight on the plants might hurt him a
give
little
your
bit.
plants nutrients, but
there's a lot of
only in containers, outdoors.
My head right away went to like the guy's going out and he's pissing in the pot.
No, well, you don't do that.
I know what's in there.
Plants that are already large and they're outdoors love a little pee. You know what I mean? It's really not going to hurt them at all because soil organisms are going to turn that into available nutrients for them, no problem. I mean, I think in a container, you could probably overwhelm a plant with pee. You know, it might not be the best thing because it might have a lot of ammonia in it, and it's pretty alkaline, right, or something. But on the other hand, in the ground, the soil organisms get a hold of it right away. And certainly, if it's a big plant, you know, it's not a little baby sensitive plant, something nice and large, or a tree. It's going to love it. But I think we're, you know, outdoors. You notice the trees that say thank you when you go pee when you pee against them. They're like, ah, thanks a lot. Especially now, you know what? I have a theory. We've been pumping so much CO2 into the fucking atmosphere, right? That's it's kind of an imbalance, right? So a lot of nutrients for a lot of plants. It's suddenly available. Their main nutrient is now much more available than it used to be. So I think it's putting a stress on their next available nutrient, which is nitrogen. Plants and, you know, the wise old trees, they're like, oh, thank you, human. I needed that pee-pee. You guys have been putting too much CO2 in the air lately. We need more nitrogen, you know, or something like that. Sorry, am I going off?
No.
Go pee against a tree.
Sorry, I was muted. I was just talking to you. Sitting here rolling this joint, trying to get a word in.
I agree with you there. I kind of like marking my territory. Yeah.
That too. That too.
There you go.
There's lots of good reasons for it. Yeah, it probably keeps away deer and stuff. You live in certain neighborhoods, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I think so.
But yeah, pee is good.
Now mine's triple strength. It keeps the rats and the cockroaches away.
I drink enough coffee, it would probably scare off lots of shit.
That's a plan. That sounds like a plan. Because you can smell it. You drink enough coffee, you can smell it in your pee.
Look at all the pretty stuff.
TMI?
All these pretty pictures that every time Marty talks. Look at all that shit. Dude.
Beautiful.
I thought that was better
Fantastic.
than my ugly mug up there all the time. We put it up as the main one, but then when we have that running as the video feed all the time, you can't tell who's talking. So that's why we switched it back to have it go back and forth. But yeah, that's let's see, that's some Gorilla Glue.
That's a nice little nougat.
I'm just rolling up some of that right now. I'm just rolling up the joint.
All right. There. Respect.
That was the indoor you guys were.
I can almost smell it through the picture.
I can. It's right here.
Right, yeah. Marty. Right now, I am living vicariously through you. Just
yeah.
So you know. Okay.
Oh no, you're not dry, are you?
Oh no! It's just.
Oh, not you.
Oh, okay.
That's just fucking pretty.
Variety is the spice of life. I mean, let's face it.
I understand. There's variety, and then there's dry. That's just painful.
No.
I've been dry for 3 or 4 weeks until this week.
Well, you live on the East Coast, so I can kind of understand. It's a little different story.
Well, I usually am not dry, but I mean, it's just the way things happen this time.
Right. So this is my first outdoor grow. Some of the pics you see there. That's a Jack Harrar outdoor aquaponics. That was so piney and tasty. Really enjoyed that one. Cool structure. Turned all red instead of like purple or yellow, like really bright yellow and red. And then that's a Platinum Delight. It's a bright purple. Wow, good stuff.
That's nice.
Good stuff. I have thousands of pictures. I just threw some of these in here so I could have something up there. Maybe I'll change them out more often. They've been the same last few.
Beautiful.
But entertaining, none the least.
Hey, Marty, you definitely are not one of those people where they would say big hat, no cattle. You got all cattle. That's nice.
I'm good with that. I like cattle.
Yeah,
Some pretty cows.
yeah.
I was just going back through when I created this folder. I was having to pull a bunch of pictures off and just like looking at the sheer volume. I think I'm up to like close to like 300 gigs of just straight pictures.
Merry Christmas. Fuck.
So it's I take a lot of pictures. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, especially the.
That's okay. Marty, I'm a voyeur. I'll admit it. I'm a garden voyeur.
I love my bud
Those are
porn.
beautiful.
That's for sure.
I'll look at the stuff. I'll start breathing heavy and everything, dude.
Yeah,
It's not porn unless it's roots. So okay. That's like it's more like fashion photography. It's only porn if you're shooting the roots.
all right.
So you're safe.
I get what you're saying, but but
the
sugar's
roots.
pretty, man. Sugar's
That's
pretty.
true.
Only
love the
porn
shoot.
when you shoot the roots.
The
People who
roots
lift their
from the
DWC up like that.
that indoor
That's
dual
boring.
root zone, man, they took up the whole bed. Like I thought, I didn't drill as many holes in the bottom, so I thought maybe the roots wouldn't go through it as much, and it wouldn't have as many roots in the bed. Not even close. I mean, it just split out the side of the pot, like just completely grew out. The whole bed was just covered in roots. Like all the hydrogen was all growing together. It was just a mat of roots in the whole thing. So it did not work as I anticipated, but still turned out just fine. And I think I'll probably just count on having to do that. Is not, just figure the roots are going to go nuts when they get out of the pot. There's not really a whole lot I can do about it. Just account for it moving forward, because can't argue with the result. That's for sure.
Yeah, roots are tenacious.
But you can see the pots there a little bit on that last picture. I don't know if I can go back or not. No, I can't control it right now. But yeah, in that one picture, you could see where they're embedded in the bed. The bed is much bigger than the pot, and the roots just covered the whole thing, end to end, top to bottom, just a mat, like a mattress of roots and hydrogen, and that was it. So spent a lot of time cleaning those out, and I have 10 more of these Gorilla Glue plants that are going to go in. 6 into flower, and then have some for veg and cut some clones off of. So hopefully I'll have that set up by next week and we can take a look. Fun.
Good work, sir. Good work.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I don't know if you guys saw, I started, I got some girls going again, which is awesome. It's like so mentally relieving, I guess, in a lot of weird ways. So.
Well, every guy should have a harem. That's my thought. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Treat them nice, and feed them when they need it. Twist them around the net when they need it. Give them the love and attention they need. And harvest them. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm super stoked. My my blue hash is already rocking. Some of them are already like this big. I'm not even lying. They're fucking huge they're on day 8, I think today, or day 9. Something like that.
These are from seed?
From seed, yes.
From seed.
And
And are
the
they
fastest germinators I've ever had.
Are they feminized seeds or are they straight?
They're straight.
Yeah, they're butch. They're butch.
But the whole row of 10 is growing super fast, so I doubt that they're all boys, Normally, though, I do hear what you're saying, though. If you have ones that are super fast germinators, good chances are that they're a boy.
No, I don't think so. I think that.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I will say at least with the equatorial strains, I'll say that.
I used to get fooled all the time. Every time I think I got it figured out, it's the other sex. It never fails. I don't care. We could grow. I'll have one 3 feet tall and 4 of them 1.5 feet tall, and the 3-foot one, I'll say it's a freaking male. It turns out to be a female.
As long as that doesn't happen at the corner bar, you're fine.
Yeah.
I've seen plants that always make tiny little seeds and not necessarily very strong coats, even if you feed them well and stuff like that. They just make wimpy seeds, and the seed themselves, even if it germinates real strong, in the very beginning, the little plant is kind of little looking, and later on might, grow up to be normal, catch up. But it's just like kind of a feature of the mother's makes tiny seeds. And you've seen other plants that make gigantic seeds too, just germinate and just go bah. So there's that, and it's not even related to the germination ratio. It's just the shape the mom seed, the shape of her flower or whatever.
Do you work with the gels?
Huh?
Do you do the kind of
A gel?
the gels, yeah, and saving your stock, your DNA and stuff in the gel, and you can pop it off and get a clone? Do you do that kind of work too?
Talking about tissue culture.
No, I just make the cuts the regular way. But
Okay.
but it's an interesting idea. It would be cool for, because I generally just make one cut from each previous one. Most of the clones that I've saved are saved. They're select breeding plants and stuff like that, or they might become later. You know what I mean?
Steve
So,
just
or
sent me a really interesting article on somebody who's working with gels. And apparently, what they're doing, and I didn't understand it. That's why I come on things like this to learn from guys like you. But from what it sounded like, his direction was, I'm identifying these good strains. I'm keeping them in the gel because I can keep them so much longer in this stage of their growth rather than losing through drift of cloning, bringing up a mother. And it was
I've never
also
seen that
working
happen.
with doing.
I've kept clones for years.
Huh?
I don't think there is any kind of degeneration thing. If there is, I think the Macintosh apple isn't going to be in trouble at about 300 years old now. But yeah, no, I don't think there's any such.
That's good. Yeah.
I don't think there's any such thing as clone degeneration.
Well,
I've never
no,
seen it. I mean,
yeah.
My
Well-
favorite plant, I got her when she was 14 years old. And
Well,
I got a clone here that's 14,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
A couple. And it's one of the most vigorous clones you've ever seen.
Yeah, Jesus, I know. It's just like Lazarus. Every time it would just raise from the dead, no matter what you did to her. Yeah.
Oh, it's just because some plants are just really vigorous, and it doesn't matter. I don't keep a mother clone and only take ones from that. I just go one from the next, from the next, from the next. So
Generation
that
to
plant's
generation.
been done.
That's how I did it. Yeah.
I've had it.
Yep.
Must be thousands of generations of clone generations, if you want to call it that. I don't know what that is. I don't count that. I only count seed generations.
Mhm.
I do count those. And actual generations where you cross a male and female. But
What does everybody think? Is that a good method? Because that's how I did it. I just don't know if it's right or not.
what would be useful would be to be able to keep the clone sort of on hand, to keep its tissue availability for breeding, because that's exactly what some of these plants that I have that are 12, 15 years old are valuable for. They're just fantastic. They're plants that are already proven breeding plants. You already know that when you cross that with anything, it's going to kick its, give its traits into the thing that you cross it with. So you know what I mean? So you want to keep that. And but it would be cool if there was a way to, because a plant that takes up room. Actually, one of them, for example, I'm thinking of this Jack Herrera, which is such a wonderful plant, is so vigorous growing, and it grows so fast that it immediately takes over. And it's great because you turn over the clone generations quick. But because I just really I don't necessarily want to grow it all the time for.
Well, some guys are banking. Some guys are banking.
I don't need as much weed.
Banking the genetics in the gel. I think that's a pretty. I mean,
it's an interesting idea.
And I don't know. This is not my bailiwick. That's why I bring it up with you guys.
I mean, especially if there was a way to kind of store, to make a whole bunch of little plants, or to keep to hold the tissue of the plant really reliably in kind of in suspension or whatever.
That's what they do. It's kind of like zombie marijuana. There's some research that you can go look at. They did it with redwoods or something like that, and and they just have these little test tubes, and they're putting this little tiny piece of plant in there, giving it like 1 watt of power. Oh my God! It's just like you're just teasing it with photons at that point, and they're hanging this plant in suspension for really really long times. And then when you want it, you go in there with your scalpel and whatever. You take a smidge off it. You drop it in the next thing. You change your temperatures, change the food ratio, give it some more input of photons, and boom, you can grow it out. And I think that article Steve showed me for this guy who's trying to get double wrapped DNA in his plants to hopefully make mutants that make bigger buds. He was maintaining stock, trait stock that he wants to get going, and apparently they can just, like on tap, just unleash it and turn it into a plant, and for breeding. I think it sounds exciting, but I'm not even qualified to know if I even know the questions to ask of a methodology like that.
So what he's talking about is there's a genetic mutation called a polyploid. And a polyploid.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
So a polyploid is, instead of getting like a round daisy, you get a stretched daisy. So the head will look like this of the daisy, and rather than like a circle, or a circle. And
Apple.
A double plant.
So what it is they're taking this crocus, hold on,
Colchicine.
the fall crocus bulbs. They're crushing the fall crocus bulbs. It's from the autumn crocus.
Colchicine.
Yep, colchicine. That's it.
Yeah.
And then they're taking colchicine from the seeds and the bulbs, and taking that extract, and they're basically adding a couple drops of that to the water that they soak their seeds in. Like in the video that I just did on my channel where we soak the seeds to pre-soak, they put some of the colchicine in there, and what that does is it changes the way that the plant pairs up its gene sequences, and you can get these super crazy. So instead of your bud looking like a beer can, it looks like a beer can like this instead of a beer can like this. It's pretty wild. It makes these fan-shaped buds that are really big.
Colchicine has traditionally been used for a long time on a lot of other plants. It's an old thing used in agriculture as a mutagen,
Yep.
So it wasn't first tried on cannabis, but generally the idea is that you've got to kill most of your plants. So you probably have to dose the seeds high enough. So it's probably good to start with like 100 seeds and dose them high enough that you kill a lot of them. You know what I mean? With enough colchicine that you're like killing 90 of them, and the 10 that survive are going to be, or that's traditionally how it's done in other areas. And there's a lot of talk about people using it to make triploidy, to make triploid cannabis and stuff like that. It's been, in fact, Arthur Connell Clarke, in Marijuana Botany, which was written in the 70s. Wonderful old book. I'm pretty sure he talked about it in there. And the reason why is because it's an old agricultural idea. It's been around.
There's an
Sorry,
old book.
What do you say, Steve?
There's an old book, Cannabis Connoisseur, or Cannabis Connoisseur, from the 70s that I think was the first time I ever read about it.
Yeah, the idea's been around for a while, and
I had that book. Yeah.
So he's talking about getting that mutant plant, that 1 out of 1,000, that is the green he's talking about here, and then once you have that one, then you hold it in the gel, and out of the gel, you can just start cranking out clonage, after that point.
Well, I would love to see it. I would love to see an analysis like on Mr. Green Gene's his twins. He's got that twins.
Oh, they both came out females. Once again, and as a matter of fact, of those GTs, damn, I should have brought out one. There's probably one over there. I could probably grab one really quick. Of the
sorry.
remember G13s, you guys are, oh yeah, that's the strain from the
old government strain.
supposedly the legend of the government, U.S. government strain or whatever. But you know, I got
From
the
Area
seeds in my wife,
51.
yeah, got the seeds in Prague. So anyway, you know, there was 11 seedlings out of 10 seeds, right? How do you do that? 11 seedlings out of 10 seeds. That's because, as you know, the one of those seeds was a twin, and that was pretty cool. But here's the deal. They were all females. What's even the chances of 10 females? Well, okay, if they were feminized, but they weren't. They were supposed to be straight. They were supposed to be straight seeds. And they obviously didn't turn out to be straight, right? But here's the kind of funny thing: there's a fair amount of variation. There's quite a bit of variation, more variation than you'd expect from feminized seeds. Although you do get a fair amount of variation when you use female pollen from another plant to cross into. You really only get that extreme reduction in variation with feminized seeds when the plant is actually self. But sometimes
what is female pollen?
Plant when you take a female plant and you cause it to make a male flower, either
Like
sometimes
you do the colloidal silver thing on it or something.
Yeah, silver nitrate is the classic way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know what the term meant. Thank you. Thank you.
And you know, and some plants are harder to the way I see it is that genetically some plants are obviously a lot easier to coax into being hermaphrodites. There is the biggest component is genetic, because some plants absolutely won't hermy no matter what you do pretty easily. Other plants are complete fence straddlers, and no matter what you do, they're hermies anyway because they're from Laos or Thailand, you know.
Cool.
It's like, okay,
Couldn't get a job on the airlines, right?
Total ladyboys, these guys. But anyway, but genetically is the main thing about hermaphrodites, obviously. But there's also some kind of stress component will do it anyway. But so the classic way to really make feminized seeds is to cause the plant to make a female flower with the silver nitrate. And it'd be nice if it was a really extremely female plant. You do occasionally see those. There are such things, I think, as plants that are so female that no matter what you do, you'll never see a male flower on that. And maybe
you might kill it.
So basically, social justice warrior plants.
Yeah.
A lot of it's down to stress. You know, this Oreo plant, I know it's getting to be 7 or 8 years. I haven't seen a male flower on it in a long time. It used to occasionally give off a male flower. It's half Durban poison. You know, it's a sativa landrace, and you would expect that to sometimes have a hermaphrodite flower, and in fact I think it can. I think it's, and I'm sure it still could, but maybe I just I really think that one of the things that makes hermaphrodite flowers is feeding plants the wrong kind of food, late in flowering. If they're past peak flowering and you're still giving nitrogen and things like that, and I never do that not because I'm so cool and so self-disciplined, but just because I use the really small pots and the plants run out of food, and so, you know what I mean? This guy, you can see he's getting yellow, it's got beautiful, some green stuff left in there, but a lot of the leaves have gotten quite yellow. It's used up.
Right, but it looks like at that stage, looks like it's fairly far along, right? How many weeks in flower are you there?
Oh yeah, but maybe not, because this is at least a 10 or 11 weeker indoors. It's half Durban poison. It's a pretty long season sativa, so it'd probably go another week. It's got, the pistils are still looking pretty good, and it will solidify. The buds will solidify a little bit too if I give it a little more time. But man, it's still in this little. It's only in 1 quart pot.
Nice.
Big old plant. It's a
So you
gigantic
you
yielding.
do a lot of turn and burn, right?
Huh?
You do a lot of turn and burn. You get
What
it
do you
out
mean?
of the dirt. You get it out of the dirt and then boom, throw it in the flower.
Well, yeah, I only have the vegging light and the flowering light, and the flowering light is continuous. So I just put the plants in there, and when they're done, I take them out. Yeah, and so and a lot of times I don't necessarily notice some of them take longer than others or whatever. I do know that the Oreo is at least a 10 weeker maybe.
I used
But
to
you do like I do. You just let the trichomes and you let the trichomes tell you when to harvest. You don't really pay attention to. I don't either. I don't really know. Sometimes I go, I said that I'm not sure if it should be ready yet or not. I just keep checking the buds
And sometimes it's
I
just
don't really follow how many weeks. I don't keep journals or nothing anymore. I just grow until it's ready. You know.
Yeah. And sometimes I just run out of room.
I learned a lot
I
about
remember.
that. I learned a lot about that at Frenchie's class. But before we get totally onto that topic, I wanted to circle back for a second and just talk about. We were talking a little bit about polypioids, and then we were talking about herms and stuff like that in genetics. So a polypioid is another word for a seedless watermelon, for example. The cool thing about polypioids is a lot of them, polyploids or whatever they're called, is that they you can't. In most cases, they can't be fertilized. Meaning, you could have polyploid cannabis medicinal plants growing right next to, say, field hemp that hasn't been pulled for males, and it will not ruin your crop. Or you could have a breeding program going on in the same room that your normal flowering harvest was going on, except for the one or two that weren't that weren't poly. It's a back cross. So it just some ideas on stuff that you could do. I mean, obviously, it makes it kind of a dead end because you can't then cross it,
Yeah,
But
wouldn't that be the same, Steve, for like the Diva cucumber, a burpless seedless cucumber? Wouldn't that be the same thing?
I'm not sure, but
Because it's
probably.
kind of like a melon, similar to a melon. But that's what I grow. I'd grow those divas. They don't have any seeds in them.
I actually have a female plant like that. The one I think I showed a couple of weeks ago. It was afterwards, I'm pretty sure. Roger, I think you saw it, or I don't know, maybe you guys saw it. They had it in a big, wasn't in a quart.
A big 1 gallon pot, the giant 1 gallon pot.
Uh-huh. Her name's Chill Jill. That's such an unusual clone that she has a name of her own too. And Chill Jill, because she's like a Jack Herer. She's a Jack Herer derivative. And that plant is very difficult to pollinate. It has some kind of mutation on the pistils, which also makes it really unique and obvious. No one could ever claim it to be a different plant. You can spot it at a glance when it's flowering, or even when it's vegging. It's got a lot of unusual traits that way. But right on the pistils, there's something. A lot of them have maybe a club. There's a club to the end of it or something like that. Like there's some kind of mutation on the pistils, and it took me years even to get seeds off it, and I've never got more than a sprinkling of seeds on it. I've literally dusted the entire plant with pollen before and gotten 6 seeds when there was visible pistils. Well, it never really gets that many pistils. It kind of has a low ratio, like a kind of indica look maybe. But still, it seems to be unpollinatable, which is like, what? I've never seen that before. And as far as I know, it's not polyploid, but could be.
I don't know.
I don't
I
think
just thought
so.
that was us. It can happen naturally without introduction
It
to
could.
that.
It could be. We could already have genetics with quite a bit of other people could have done the experiments, and it could be continued along.
Yep.
So there very well might be plants with polyploid genetics running around already.
There's a handful of strains that, and there's 1 or 2 bigger companies that we're working on. Damn it, there was like 2 or 3 strains out there that were basically designed around that from clones.
And you would expect the polyploid plant to be extremely vigorous like that too. You would expect it to be very fast growing.
Oh yeah, if it has those extra genes, it's gonna go crazy most of the time.
Yeah,
Also, they'll grow they'll go kind of corally or corkscrew leaves. Their leaves aren't always flat. Sometimes they're kind of funky. It's another.
Oh, I've seen plants like that. And of course, trifoliar plants and plants with double stems that are trying to grow together
Oh,
from the beginning, like
fasciation.
twins that almost the same plant. Oh my God. Oh my God.
When in Rome.
On that great connection, I have to tell y'all
Is that a
something.
soundtrack?
We'll have to get him back on soon, but Donald has had his. Remember, we talked about Donald doing his mother tree with like 8 different strains.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He successfully grafted the first clone onto the stem.
Oh yeah.
And he's got one, and we talked, but we were talking about business the other day. We didn't get into that, but I know about 3 weeks ago he successfully grafted the first clone onto it, and he's moving on with that. And this is a plant that he harvested and re-vegged. So the stem is from a harvested plant, not a main. And he's next going to do a mainline plant to do it. But he went ahead and just for shits and giggles, he decided he's going to start grafting on this plant that he harvested. Keep it going, because it's already got established root zone, and he's already successfully got the first graft on. So by the end of the year, we ought to have us a multi-strain mother tree, mother bush or mother plant, So it's
Mama's bush.
thought I'd throw that out.
A multicultural bush.
You have to call it coexist cannabis.
Can't we all just get along?
I like multicultural bushes.
There you go.
A lot of that in Florida going around.
So I actually got a chance to go to Frenchy Cannoli's hash class over the weekend. That was super awesome. I learned a whole bunch about how to clean up bubble hash, and some different dry sift techniques I hadn't been exposed to. Just a whole bunch of great stuff. If anyone ever gets a chance to go to one of Frenchy's classes, it was amazing. They had an open hash bar, all you can smoke. Half of it's Frenchy's. Doesn't really get better than that. For real.
That's worth it alone.
Right?
He's a master. He's an absolute master.
Oh yeah.
Can you sign up and just go to the hash bar all day? That seems like.
I'm sure you could. There was two or three people there that had paid a lot of money and flown from other places that were blacked out on the couch by the end of it.
You're like, I don't want to learn. I'm just here for the hash bar.
And then there was a Frenchie comes out at the end with an 8-hose Syrian hookah that's like 4 feet tall. And
I saw your video.
It's like half an ounce of hash on there, or an ounce of hash on there, and just we all smoked together. It was the coolest shit, and it was like some of his best hash, but we all smoked together with coconut. It was just such a great experience, and so he teaches these classes occasionally in San Francisco, and I think there's one in Barcelona coming up and stuff. So be sure to check him out if you get a chance. I know he's going to be doing one on dry sift technique, coming up in sometime in the next couple of months here.
Dry sifting.
Yeah, so it'll be like a Moroccan and Afghan hash class, whereas this was just like how he does his temple balls and all. Pretty neat. So he has a really cool way of doing water hash, gentler. So he'll take him like the better part of 6 hours to do about 2 pounds worth of bubble to process it, real gently and slowly. But man, does it come out insane! And as a heck
gently
of a
and slowly in ice water, in cold water, right?
Cold water.
No?
Yep. Cold water.
Cold water, yeah.
Yeah, you want the water to do the friction, not the ice. The ice will break up the material and add contaminant that you then have to work back out on the back end.
I dip a lot plants a lot of times. These kind of plants are really easy to turn upside down into a. So like if I have problems with insects and things like that or whatever, I just dunk them in water and I've noticed that you would think at first I was like worried about that. Oh my God, am I going to be washing the resin off? But the other day I was looking in a 5-gallon bucket and I dipped a whole bunch of plants. And I was thinking, you know, if I was knocking any resin off, wouldn't there be an oil slick here, you know? And there's nothing, you know, the water starts turning green with the insects and things like that or whatever getting knocked
Well,
off,
you
or
could
maybe
be
some,
knocking resin heads off, but they would not form an oil slick because you have
Yeah.
to do something to break the outside chemical barrier on
Yep.
the heads.
On the
Yeah,
triheads. But
and
the
when you pick,
triheads won't fall off real easily
they,
until they're ripe,
Right.
which is something
That's the
I
other
didn't
thing.
learn until I was in Frenchie's
I'm
class.
pretty rough.
You have to think of
I'm
them
pretty
like an
rough,
apple.
you know, because
Yeah.
I smoosh the plants up and down pretty good. I'm not like all, you know, soft in there. I swish them up and down to knock off any bad buggies and things that might be in there, and gives them a hard time. Makes things like spider mites, you know, knocks them back to hell
I
with
mean,
only
aphids
water.
and stuff too. Aphids, I put plants in the shower. You know, I put
Yeah.
plants.
You know what works
I wrap
really
a
good?
They love
plastic
it.
bag around
Plants
the pot.
love it.
I
Love
put
We got
a
a 50 we
plastic
got a
bag
50
around the
smells so
pot,
nice.
tie it up, and then give it a shower.
They smell so good,
Lukewarm, barely lukewarm water. You know.
We had a 55
and they
gallon
love
drum.
you.
We had a 55
They
gallon
love you
drum.
for it. But the thing,
Yeah.
my point is that I think no resin gets knocked off. I mean, really, literally none. A lot of people have said to me, "Oh, aren't you worried about washing off the resin in it?" And I thought about that. I was worried about that, and I think I got into it originally because I was like, I had a seed batch on there, and I was like, well, I don't give a shit. You know, the seeds are more important than the bud. So,
Hey.
so I just, you know, so in my estimation, the one thing was worth more than the other. So I started doing it. But now I would like to tell you that I don't think there's any danger of washing off resin. If you're concerned about it, that straight water, I don't think does anything. Even warm, maybe cold, it might. And I don't use it cold. I use it kind of warm, a little bit lukewarm.
Well, even
There,
if you
there's an
Hold on.
cleaner,
Hold
dude.
on. There's a guy in chat that actually brought something. So he says you lose water soluble terps. You actually do not lose water soluble terps. That's actually a
Can't.
myth. The terpenes are held inside of, there's a membrane that goes around the outside of the terpene head, and that membrane does not break in water.
Right.
You can freeze them and shatter it because there's moisture in there. Yes. If you flash freeze them, you can break them, which is why you don't use a ton of ice because you can actually break them that way. But the terpenes are actually held inside of it. Think of it like a fruit or like an apple or a grape. Or apple would probably be a better thing because apples fall from the tree once they're fully ripened. Okay. The trichome head is the same way. It has a sealed barrier that detaches. The same cells that detach an apple from a tree where it connects are the same cells that are at the edge of that trichome head. It's designed to fall off when it's ready. Basically, it's a dust protection for the plant, and if it gets too heavy or it gets fully ripened, it'll drop off so that the younger ones can help protect the plant from that have less shit on them. Basically. The
So you
membrane
can
no, the membrane is not water permeable. Frenchie actually went through that in detail, and he actually had us taste the water of it, and then taste some of the hash. There was no flavor in the water of it, and we spent probably 4 hours grinding that, swirling that wheat in that water. If it was going to have a taste, it would have been after 4. It's basically tea.
And when talking about washing off the resin or whatever, I mean, just look at when you harvest a plant and you don't wear gloves. How you can't wash that shit off your fingers. Think about it. I mean, you can sit there all day and they can't wash that off your fingers.
So the reason why people, so he R in chat also brought up, so he says that's why people like to pull the bags out of the water. Actually, so that when you pull the bag out of the water, it lets you work the contaminants out so they wash right out. So if you can hang the bags so that they're not in water at all with your catch basin underneath, you can actually take your hose and work the foam on like a fan spray with the sprayer, and actually work and knead the foam, the bubble hash that's in the bag, and you can work a foam on it, and you can actually work the foam up to the edge and then blast the foam straight through the side of your thing, knocking off all the trichome stalks and all the extra junk plant material, and it works really good. Frenchie demonstrated it to us in class and everything, and there's a little bit of a hand technique to working the foam in the bubble bags, but when they're not submerged, but it works really, really good, and that's how he's getting that just platinum blonde hash that he makes. You don't get that platinum blonde hash. I mean, I have some pictures, I'm sure.
Hash from Norway.
Yeah, it's just
The president would say.
ridiculous.
It's not hash from those shithole trichomes. Hash from Norway.
Uh,
Yeah,
Too
just to give you an
political.
idea.
we want shithole hash. That would suck.
Give you an idea. Look how blonde that is. I mean, that's like white.
That's
That's the
Wow.
that's the bubble we made that day. I mean, it's I've never seen
Better
stuff
'cause
that
it's white,
blonde.
Steve? Is that what you're saying?
Wow.
Well, I've seen it that blonde, but it came from Middle East. You know.
Lebanese blonde.
Yeah, like I've seen that back in the day. Shoot,
Lebanese.
it's probably
Yeah.
okay to talk about it now, but in the 70s, guys in the Air Force would fly back with just pounds of hash from Iran stored in the fuselage where they put their beer. You know, like
Yeah.
they take the inner fuselage and unscrew it and then stash stuff in between the outer and the inner shell on the plane and bring it back in
Yeah,
the day.
I got the tie stick back in the day.
And that was me too. I got a good tie stick story. My friend, my roommate, we were music. You know, he's a musician. He was a music teacher, and I met him. He was working at one of the local music stores, and it was one of the first places I lived when I moved out from my parents. When I was about 19, and I was working at 7-Eleven on the graveyard shift from 11 to 7. And he had some friends come in from California with some freaking tie stick, and I'd never had it before, you know. And, you know, so I come down from my shower, getting ready to go. They said, here, check this out. So I took like 2 or 3 tokes, and I'm going, okay, I don't see nothing special about this. And then I got out of the apartment, and I rode down around the corner, and I got about a half a mile to the stoplight. The next thing I know, I realized I was sat through 2 green lights at the corner, you know, just watching the freaking light change, you know. And that was an interesting night at work, to say the least. But yeah, the Tommy, that real deal tie stick back in the day in the 70s. Woo! Yeah, that was something. That was something to experience. So I got lucky that way. And I had actually lived in Turkey when I was young, so I've seen poppy fields too. You know.
Oh,
Cool.
But we didn't mess with it. I mean, you know, I'm a military brat. We just rode by it down the road from town to the base. But you know,
I haven't seen a poppy field, but I have seen a coca field when I was in Peru.
yeah, I haven't been down there. Yeah, I just, you know, you got to the point with that in the 70s and 80s where it probably just really wasn't a real good idea to go down there and look at coca fields, you know. Hell, that's the reason we don't have cannabis wasn't already legal by Jimmy Carter was the damn cocaine.
yeah, like
You know, if it wasn't for cocaine, Jimmy Carter would have legalized cannabis in the 70s, you know, or whatever it was.
Yeah, but then how would Ronald Reagan have paid for his Iran Contra?
Yeah, well, just think about the way the history would have been changed had the cocaine. Well, the cocaine happened, so there's really no speculating that it wasn't going to happen. But a lot of people don't realize that cannabis would have been legalized back then, most likely, and then the war on drugs with the cocaine, you know, Panama and all that stuff
What's the
was
money
going on, and they had to slam down there, had to slam everything.
And the repugs have used the contraband side, money side of it to move a lot of stuff. That's what I see the biggest impediment to all the legalization is. That's been a cash cow for them.
And like I always say, Marlboro doesn't own a patent to it. I mean, they're already selling their packs of cigarettes out there for like $80 or whatever they're selling them for. You know, have you seen them? All y'all seen those?
I haven't seen them.
Yeah, they got out. There's like, I believe it's 2 or 3 states, the whole West Coast, at least Washington. But Marlboro has a pack of cannabis cigarettes that it's like a green pack with a marijuana leaf on the front of it. It says Marlboro. They've been selling it for a while, and it's like $80 a pack. So like I bet average to about $4 or $5 a
Really? I
cigarette.
haven't seen that. I
Yeah.
saw somebody made
I
it.
know a guy who was producing in Marlboro packs, and Marlboro shut his ass down so fast it made his head spin.
Yeah.
I remember those. Those
Well,
were in Sandy.
You can probably Google it, and you'll find a picture of the pack. You know, it's a
What was
legitimate
it?
Marlboro package.
What was it? What was the Marlboro? Do you have one? You had one at the house.
Hey, down here in San Diego, was putting out those little 10-pack Marlboro packs. It was like half the size of a Marlboro pack, but it looked like a fucking Marlboro pack. And he'd only put out like, $50,000 to $100,000 worth of them, and woo, he got burned.
Oh yeah, they don't play. They don't play.
Oh, it's like, how on God's earth did they even find you? You haven't done anything yet. And it was just bam.
Well, it gets found because social media people post that picture, they find that pack, and then they post it all over freaking Yahoo and Facebook and everywhere. So
But it wasn't. I don't think
really
it was.
hard to find.
It wasn't called Marlboro. It was called like.
I don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's actually one that I have to find that picture because there's actually a Marlboro package that says Marlboro on it, and it's got the exact same. It's the exact same look as any other. In other words, it's a different green from the menthol. It's a different color green from the menthol cigarettes, but it looks like a pack of menthol Marlboros, but it's got a pot leaf on the front of it.
Now, it might be a lie, just like Jake's stuff was.
Well, it might be, but the article was about how they were selling it out west in different states. It wasn't, So
I'm not seeing anything of that. I know there was
so you might be right.
last year.
Might be fake. It might be Trump news, fake news, or something like that. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I know there was like towards the end of last year, somebody made a fake post with a thing on it, and it got circled around. I haven't seen it in a while, but I haven't heard of anything. Have you seen anything in California? I haven't seen anything in the dispensaries here.
Just the ones that Tommy talked about.
Well, let's see. I'm going to Google it real quick and see if I can come up with anything on it.
So we were talking about ripeness. So think of the trichome heads as a like a water tank or a balloon, and you want them to reach like a minimum size before or like an apple, right? You want it to get the right color and the right size before you're ready to harvest it. So your ripe trichome heads are generally between 73 micron and 160 micron. Less than that, you can so your 25 and 45 micron, you do get some of that, but you will actually get a lot more CBG, and you'll get a lot more CBD in those lower ones than you will in the other ones. And some of the stuff that Frenchie went over, it was really cool to learn about. And yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. So he pulls mostly the 73 through 160, and then sometimes he'll do a full one. It's like a 45 through 160, but I thought that was really interesting. So larger than that, you can still have full gland heads that are larger, but you end up with higher chance of just debris and other junk. So.
Yeah, this says that there's 4 states that have Marlboro marijuana cigarettes for sale. And here's a link to the YouTube video on it right here.
Huh. That's interesting. I have never seen that.
Now it's rolling right here. It says Washington. I knew Washington was one of them. They're all out west. I think it's Washington, Oregon.
I don't think they're legit. I don't think they're legit though, because I've never heard of any of the Philip Morris or anyone getting into the weed industry. In fact, they've kind of avoided it.
R.J. Reynolds.
What?
I got an idea. How about we start a new industry? We muscle in on the Swanson's TV dinners and stuff that we all grew up on, and we just make like a microwavable dinner that is portioned with your cannabis.
And it comes with the.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Philip Morris. Philip Morris is Marlboro.
Yes, I'm aware of that. That's why I was saying I wasn't aware that Philip Morris was in the weed game. I was under the impression that they were not in the weed game yet. I don't know of any license.
All right. Well, so it'd be interesting, but this looks pretty convincing. There's a lot of stories about it, and
if Philip Morris was in it, Jeff Sessions would not be saying what he's saying.
Yeah.
Philip Morris was in it. Jeff Sessions would not be saying what he's saying.
If Philip Morris was in it, you'd see it at the casinos in Vegas.
Yeah.
The gaming board, at that point, the gaming board would probably feel comfortable to let it go. Right now, the gaming board is not about to screw up their profits. So.
Well, the thing is they haven't been able to patent and control it, and so I think that's part of why. Again, now we've got this question whether it's a true story or not. But I was under the belief that they were actually in it. It's just that they can't control it, so it's limited to those Western states where there's legalization in place. But I guess we'll find out by next week. Somebody will come on and prove me wrong, or whatever, or I'll figure it out this week, one other way or the other. Because now I'm going to be curious because I thought it was true. So
No, it's not. It's not true. Yeah, so I agree with R. He says in chat, he says, kind of enjoy my 7390 and 120 separate. I kind of like to have all my stuff separate. They can be nice in blends, especially those middle blends because they tend to have a little bit. I don't know if you guys have made a lot of separate bubble. Basically, separate all your bubble hash and then press it, either
Together.
whatever your method is. But when you press it, I noticed that the 25 and the 45 end up with really more like Play-Doh. It's very malleable, and you can work the material real easy. Whereas the 73 kind of starts to get a little more like glass, and then the 90 and the 120 and the 160 are really glass-like. It'll splinter and shatter just like it's a piece of glass. It's real interesting to see that, and you can tell the size of the, if you're getting those full gland heads or not by kind of how it melts and how it behaves afterwards.
well, you only use the one bag for when you're doing your pressing for your rosin, right? So what micron was that again? What size? Tell everybody that you use for before you press. You do your bubble hash, just one size bag, right? And then you press it.
No, so well, yeah. So we'll
Yeah.
do 25, 45, 73, 90, 120, 160, and sometimes 190, depending on what the material is.
The bigger the number, the smaller the hole.
No, the smaller the number, the smaller the hole. The micron size is the size of the hole, not the. So it's the diameter of the thing that can go through.
Well, on a sandpaper micron type thing like they use on polished bowling balls, 400 micron is smaller particles than 320 or 220 or 160.
It's the how many microns across the hole is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's the same in the bags. So like 600 grit sandpaper is much finer than 100 grit, and so it's the same in the bag number. So a 25 would be gravel, where
the 25 would be fine, super fine, and then the 220 is your catch the plant material.
90 is really small, right?
So it's just backwards.
That's wild. That's the exact opposite of how it's used for when it's used as an abrasive. So that's nice and confusing when you since you both call microns,
Leave it to the
good to know though. The smaller the number, yeah. Okay.
That's easy enough. Yeah, as long as you compare it to sandpaper, you just say flip it like great.
Yeah. So if I'm gonna, oh shit, what do I do here? I turn my volume down. There we go. So if you're gonna press your stuff in a rosin press, you're gonna do flour. You want to generally use like a 73 micron or a 90 micron. Works really good.
Okay, that's what.
And then if you're gonna press your stuff, if you're gonna press bubble hash, you use like a 36 micron or a 45 micron, something a little finer. It'll come out better. But make sure you double bag it. So I always will double bag mine with 36s. I'll put them in put the hash in the bag, and then you have your bag goes across, and you have the seam on one side. So I'll pack that up, and then I'll make it maybe about this much, maybe about half the width of my thumbnail depth of hash, and then I'll spread that nice and thin, and then I'll fold the end, and then I'll stuff it in another bag the opposite way so that the seams are opposite of each other, and the bottom is folded over at the sealed end of the bag. This way, when I press it slow, especially with the bubble and stuff, if you don't do that slow enough, your bag will blow out every time. Like you'll just blow your bags. Same thing when you do bubble, you need to slow down your rosin press time and make it slower and a little bit longer. Because if you do it fast, it's going to smash and blow out right out the side, and you got to repack the whole thing. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So, whereas the flour you can do real quickly, but the bubble you want to do slow and ramp your pressure. You start off at 100 psi and go up to 5 or 8,000 or something like that over the course of 3.5 minutes.
You lower the temperature too.
Yeah, so I'll do like 180 Fahrenheit, 175
Okay.
Fahrenheit instead of
That
the
makes sense.
200 or 210 usually for flour. I'll do flour a little bit warmer, a little bit hotter because it tends to flow better. Just depends on the
Well,
girl.
yeah, all that
The
space
rosin's a
to
little different.
dissipate the heat and everything. Where I imagine it, and when you start concentrating all that stuff, you're just thinking like extraction wise. You would want to ramp that up and then let it ooze, and yeah, having a little bit lower temperature, and a little bit more time, yeah, would definitely facilitate that. I'm looking forward to getting started on that. I haven't done that stuff, but it sounds pretty fascinating.
Yep.
Got to get a press.
Yeah, man, you do. You got to get
I'm
you
gonna get
one.
one. I'm gonna get one. I'm thinking it's gonna be really cool to use for breeding, to be able to press each plant and see, at the low temperatures, and where you can almost see I guess the mix of the amount of wax and lipids and terpenes and all this kinds of stuff, right? I mean, the pressing is really
Yes,
kind
all
of
along
showing them.
growing. Exactly. Like you get to like week 4, pull a bud off there, squeeze the shit out of it, taste it, find out where it is, look at it, know it, take it to the next week's, take another bud, just squeeze it, and you'll start
A
associating
bit dry. It's got to be kind of dried.
You're seeing. Yeah.
But I've heard of people do something with fresh bud. What is that, Steve? There's some way that is it the way of there's a way of making bubble hash with it, or hash with it when it's
With what?
fresh, when it's fresh frozen,
Oh yeah.
fresh
So there's a
frozen.
couple ways. So you can do flat. Ideally, you want
What's
to
that?
flash freeze it. But if you can't
Flash
freeze it,
frozen.
yeah. So ideally, you want to freeze it, and the reason why you want to freeze it is you want to keep it from being sticky. When it's cold, it's not sticky. And then you get it super cold, then you want to put it in as cold water. If you can get it in 34 or 36 degree water, that's perfect. You don't have to have ice as long as the water is very cold, and you can keep it from getting super hot. So if you can, wrap it, or put a little chiller in there, or whatever you're gonna do, or ice, it's the cheapest. Um, and then you want to run it for about 5 minutes, and then take your water off, do your thing, fill it back up, do it again. So that's more or less what we did
Li-
at the class.
Live rosin or something like
Oh
that.
no,
You call it?
I'm sorry. That was just the bubble. But so if live rosin
Yeah.
is, you can take plants right the day of harvest and immediately take them and run the bubble. Immediately bubble hash them. Freeze
You
them
do
and
Don't
bubble
they
that
hash
have
them
some,
same
don't
day.
you? Didn't you say you preferred it? No, you it was trimming, I think. But you've done that.
I've done that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it was Brain Grow, or maybe it was JR Token that kind of turned me on to doing that live bubble hash. Just something I'd never tried to do. I mean, it makes perfect sense. It was just something I never did. So
Must be terpy as an animal.
somebody asked me if I cut my dreads. No, I didn't cut
See, I
them.
would like that. See, I'd like it like that too, because that means that the THC hasn't deteriorated as much. And the trichomes either, so it'd be fresher, more viable THC.
It'd be as terpy as a monster.
Now, the other thing you could do too is what I find works a little bit better is running it like R said in chat, running a 3 to 5 day cure and then doing it. It'll dry up the plants a little bit better. The trichome stalks tend to dehydrate enough to where those heads want to pop right off. So if you're doing bubble hash, you are going to lose some of the trichome, a little bit of the terpenes. There's a handful of those super fresh ones, but you'll still get something that tastes pretty freaking similar. I know that Tommy and I are ultra excited to use some of our stuff we have in the R&D stuff with some of this, doing some live res stuff with it, because the stuff we've gotten even from cured material is astronomically good, and to taste it from fresh stuff is going to be even more insane. So I definitely look forward to that. But so
Genetics
traditionally,
definitely count for a lot.
yep. So traditionally, live resin though is when they take the plants, dip them in liquid nitrogen, flash freeze them, and then do their separation, usually BHO or CO2 after that. It just preserves everything a little bit better.
Hmm.
Much fuller terpene. Yep, also helps prevent it from buttering up too from moisture. So keeps it more stable, as R said in chat. Also, thank you, R, for joining. I don't think we've seen you before. So.
It also lets you deal with, like, depending on the temperature your material's at, it lets you have a different palette of polar solvents that you can go in and draw stuff out with too. So yeah, temperature's a really important thing in how you preserve what you're after, basically like in a custody change until you get some of this stuff out of the plant. Yeah.
Yep. So
On that dead note, I want to give a shout out to my father who turned 85 today.
awesome. Congratulations.
And my mother and father are together. She'll be 81 next month. And they've been together and married for years. And I've just thought of that, and I'm real excited that I'm still have my daddy who's 85 today.
Right on.
Happy birthday, man.
Congrats. Happy birthday.
85 years young.
Yep, he's still doing real well. I mean, he's had his heart operations and stuff, but modern science is amazing. And his eyes aren't so good, so what he loves best is playing golf, and he doesn't get to play golf as much. Or he doesn't enjoy it because even if he hits a good shot, he can't see the ball when in flight. So I guess that, being that I've got macular degeneration myself, and I've got to say, yeah, it kind of takes the fun out of playing golf because
You're the blind leading the blind. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, yeah, see, we got that. You ought to see us. We go shopping tomorrow every Friday at noon. He comes out and picks me up, and then we go into Walmart, and I do my shopping, and yeah, it's the blind leading the blind. Yeah,
That's funny.
That's what Garanimals are for.
Awesome.
for animals.
That's good stuff.
You just match the animals up, and your outfit always looks good.
Yeah, there you go.
I had
Anyway, well, thanks for that. Thanks for that little segue there. I just wanted to shout out for Dad.
Yeah.
Happy birthday,
Happy
Dad.
birthday, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being a great
That's the
dad.
good stuff right there. That's the good stuff.
So what do you got going on, Marty? And do you got any grow going on or anything at the moment?
I've been building so many servers and shit that I have 10 plants waiting for me in the garage that are probably, like, I'm gonna have to cut the grow bags off of them because they're probably root bound. And so I need to get them transplanted, and I'm gonna hook up the ceramic metal halide lights. So I have to get those hooked up so I can use those. And so hopefully I'll be able to do that. I'll have the house to myself for like a day and a half this weekend. So I'm hoping to be able to get some shit done then. And then next week we can do a little tour of the new setup.
Cool.
Are you all moved now, or?
Nope, not moving.
Oh, you're not moving now?
I haven't been moving for a while.
Oh, I missed that. Alrighty then.
That's all right. It changed so often.
Would your neighbor move?
Nope.
No, he had an accident
Hey,
though. No, I'm just kidding.
Marty, I know this guy. Just saying. I know this guy.
He might be able to help you with a problem. I'm just kidding.
Not sure Dorian can help, but maybe. We'll see.
Dorian would unleash a logic bomb on the man.
Yeah.
Which is far worse than anything else you could do with explosives.
What about you, Mr. Green Jeans? What have you been doing in your grow?
Yeah, just trying to hold off the plants with a machete, man. I mean, they grow too damn fast for me. No. But yeah, those the G13s are finishing up. I picked a few of them. It's genetics. It's kind of interesting. They're they're beautiful. They're all females. They were supposed to be straight seeds. What are the odds? I mean, come on, it can't be right. They had to be feminized. There must be something going on. Whatever.
How many?
Fair amount of,
There's a glitch in the matrix.
at 11 from the 10 seeds, the 2 were twins.
Oh, right. You were talking about that earlier. Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah,
seem.
2 twins. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But they're not that unusual, other than that they were twins, but they're both females, so that makes 11 out of 10 seeds. And I've still never got. Remember, I was dreaming about the idea of getting a male and female, and that twin was, and over the number of years that I've been growing, that was at least the 11th or 12th that I've seen and successfully separated. And I've never gotten a male and female pair of seeds. Mostly they're males. Most twins are males, but some are females. These ones were females. And the Dutch genetics are kind of interesting. The plants are big. They're vigorous. They have beautiful big buds. But the smells, and this is my impression from before, the smells are a little bit on the muted side. The terpenes are not blaring in any way. There's not much character there. There is a little bit to 1 or 2 of the plants there, but they're the entire terpene profile is, I would say, pretty mild. Although some of them look nice, they look very resiny. They're obviously, and I've dried and smoked a couple of them. They're reasonable. I would say they're probably not as potent, whatever that means, you know what I mean? Whatever that means, as they look, they sort of look, a couple that I've tried now probably look more resiny and more frosty and impressive than they actually smoke. And I've often wondered, maybe because the people in maybe the Dutch, I don't know whether they test with tobacco, but I know they often roll stuff with tobacco, and so I wonder if they are really flavor, getting a flavor, understanding the flavors, because they seem to be not focusing on that as a trait. You can kind of tell what the previous breeders were thinking about, when you grow out someone's seeds, because marijuana varies in so many ways, and most of its traits are variable traits, are not often on sort of easily sortable into Punnett squares. They're not obviously dominant and recessive. They're often variably expressed, so you can generally tell what the other breeders were thinking about. And it seems like they don't think much about the smells and tastes there, which I think is unusual. I mean, that's, to me, prime Asian, you know what I mean? I love plants that smell and taste unusual and different, and and that's
variety.
usually a sign that the terpene profile is something unique. And generally, plants like that also have interesting effects, psychoactive effects, or generally get you high in an unusual way. Nice, strong kind of.
Terpenes are the thing. Terpenes are the thing.
Terpenes are good, man. You love them. I love them. I love them. We love them here in California, in the United States. I think that's those guys. They smoke. They always rolling with tobacco, man. You shouldn't be smoking tobacco. It's not good for you folks. And I don't think it's good if you're breeding, because I swear that what smells that I do detect, they're kind of all over the place, and they're not. Some of them are kind of unpleasant. Like, you get a little bit of soap in there. What's that soapy smell, or some perfume or something like that?
Yeah, the soap ones are the ones that give me quidge.
What?
The soap tastes are the ones that give my body quidge. Like chalk on the.
Maybe you let it cure a while. It'll smell like cheese or something. I don't know, but
you'll get that.
Some people love them.
You'll get that one from
Europeans.
People that use a ton of yucca. The saponin, the plants readily uptake the saponin from the yucca, and saponin. You can make soap from saponin from yucca, so it's the same compound.
But this is a smell to the flower. It's genetic thing. You know, they're all different. You know, but they're very mild. They're very slight. It's a very slight thing. It's as if they didn't think of those. They were not thinking of those traits. But the traits that they were looking at are really impressive. I'll tell you what. The buds look beautiful. Most of them, not all of them. There's a bit of variation, but most of them are really nice and healthy, big ass looking, fantastic yield. Very resiny looking. You know, maybe they would taste great mixed with tobacco and a spliff too. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know how to smoke this stuff, you know.
I don't know. I've smoked tobacco and it's never tasted good
But,
any of the times I smoked it. So and it doesn't get you high. So
So I was like, oh, whoa, what are you giving me?
it tastes like shit and it doesn't get you high.
Tastes like
So yeah.
Hey, but at least it's addictive. Okay, at least it's addictive.
That's true.
Well, as we all know, cannabis is addictive when you grow it. Growing is addicting.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
let's face it, growing is addicting.
Yeah,
my
but
first indoor I built to
you
get
had
me
that
through the
beat.
winter. So
you don't have to grow nothing, and you can still get addicted to tobacco. I know I am.
right.
I need my vitamin N.
Vitamin.
Weed is vitamin M, and then nicotine
Vitamin
is
M.
vitamin
Vitamin N.
Yeah, I'm a bit of an ass. I'll shut up now. I know.
We love you anyway. It's fine.
Oh man, I'm happy. Allegedly, this bud I've got, this Blue Dream bud I'm putting in this paper right now, allegedly,
Wow.
is just now finally dry to actually roll a joint for the first time in a month.
You have such a
So-
wonderful imagination, Roger. I really appreciate that about you.
Oh shoot! I tell you what, I'm so happy. I tell you what, this Blue Dream, Marty. I'm tell you what, bud. This shit, it's surprising. I've never had anything to surprise me. Every once in a while, I get a bud. Like when it first got dry a couple days ago, you know, you get that when it's first really good, crackling dry. It just tastes so freaking good in the pipe. And I smoked a bowl, and I was sitting here in a fog. You know, when you can put anybody on this panel, and you can smoke something and get foggy, you know, like that's some good shit. That's all I got to say.
Well, stuff
And that Blue Dream is fantastic. Fantastic.
stuff that's ready when it's just dried too. There's a lot of recently, you know, you can get the right, and actually Blue Dream is one of those kinds of things. I had a cut of that was really good immediately as soon as it was dry. No curing. You know, the leaves are really fine and small, and the stems are teeny, and you know, there's no chlorophyll in it anyways, you know, and it's just top quality right immediately as soon as it's dry. There's no, you
And
don't
I
cure
have
something like
no problem keeping the scent and the taste, you know, and all that either. It's like you open the it's just this beautiful, sweet floral smell. You know, it's nice.
yeah. There's quite a bit of stuff nowadays, the right genetics that you can, you know, consume immediately. You don't really need to. I think, in my opinion, I think it's related to chlorophyll. So plants that, and it also is the length of flowering time. Like if it's a short time of flowering, it's really hard to get the chlorophyll. It's hard to make the plant use up its chlorophyll in its leaves. And if it's a indica plant with big fat, a lot of nitrogen, then it's not going to use up the chlorophyll, and it's going to flower really quick. And it's still going to have pretty green leaves.
Yeah,
So you're going to have to
particular
cure it.
seed, this Blue Dream, it's a clone now. I mean, I still got seeds, but these have turned out with a more of a sativa pheno as far as the leaves went. We got the long, skinny fingered leaves on this.
Yeah.
Ones
And
you
even
know, again, I don't know what do you know what is bred? What makes a Blue Dream? Do you know what they put together to make that?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
I think it's California. I've looked at 2 or 3 different cuts of what were called Blue Dream. Again, what's in a name, but not really. There is, I mean, there is a type I would, and I think we would all agree. It's definitely a sativa type, and it looks bluish or light grayish when it's flowering, and the reflection of the trichomes is bluish, kind of as a
In
light
fact, the
reflect.
plant was the worst
If
looking.
you've got a nice CMH light in there and you can see the right colors.
Yep.
Sorry.
It was the worst looking plant of all the plants that I had.
Yeah.
It like straight, look kind of leggy and stringy looking, but the buds, I mean, they were just sticky as a sumbitch, and they stink. And
It should be
anybody that, of course,
should be nice tree mountain shape, a nice triangle.
Well, mine, from a clone, you can't necessarily. I mean, you could prune it that way, but
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm saying the shape of the bud, the shape of each flower is kind of pointed at the top, maybe like a.
I kind of got that with the blueberry this time. I got that kind of pointed look like a little miniature Christmas tree they could have on them, on the table at Christmas with the little winter scene or something like that.
Yeah, Blue Dream. Yeah, that's one of our. I think it's one of our good. I don't know. I'd love to know who did the work on that. I think it's partly DJ Short's Blueberry.
Blue Dream.
It's got to be
Colorado. Blue Dream is a Colorado strain. Yeah,
I thought it was California.
Yeah, and we can all assume it's blueberry, but that's not a sativa, so it's interesting,
No, it's an indica. Yeah.
No,
that's what I
could be wrong on this, but I was pretty sure that Blue Dream and Golden Goat both were Colorado developed. Someone could probably correct me.
Maybe I don't know.
I'm wrong here. Anyways, I know Blue Dream is kind of a good bread and butter strain a lot of the dispensaries grow because it's relatively pest resistant. You can't really
easy to grow.
Fuck it up. It grows really well. It harvests well. It yields well. The buds are big. It's not annoying like cookies are to trim. It's just low labor.
It's a master race. Everyone loves it. People love to grow it. People love to consume it. Everyone loves it. Consumers love it.
So I actually have a blue. We call it blue hash. It's a Blue Dream hash plant. It's like a Blue Dream crossed with some kind of Afghan. And man, that's the strongest strain that I have. I mean, of all. I mean, that one's seriously like a good 2 to 3 days ahead of all the other seeds I've started already. And it's
because I can get Afghan. We got Afghan too.
Well, especially being a colder climate, the Afghan will do real well. They're a little more adapted to the cold.
That's what's cool. That snowstorm and all we had, we had that 3 weeks of super, super cold weather that's unusual here, and the 7 inches of snow, and that was as everything was finishing. So it was kind of nice. I didn't have to fight temps or anything like that during the finish. I got that nice, naturally colder environment going on and less humidity, and it really made for a nice finish on everything. Talking to Pineapple Haze yesterday, allegedly.
Actually, yeah. So Frenchie was saying that the ideal temperature was 55 degrees at 35% humidity for curing plants. So
I like that. Well, he likes 35%. Well, I think it depends on where you live too. If you live in a real tropical climate, it's going to be different than a desert climate.
Oh yeah, I mean, good luck at 35% in Jamaica. Yeah, at no point are you ever going to achieve that. Maybe in a freezer.
That's like here. Here it's 90 to 100% sometimes in the summer. Good luck. It's been raining for a week. Good luck keeping your humidity down to 40.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like trying to get it here in Portland and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to get 35% humidity.
Yeah. Well, I got a dehumidifier that has a drain hooked up to a drain. Well, to a drain. So, and it'll suck out. It'll fill up a 5-gallon bucket in a couple days. Easy. Just an 8x8 room. That was kind of interesting when I used to do that. Right now I'm running a portable AC that does dehumidifying as well as air conditioning. So I got my dehumidifier stashed. But yeah, I used to have it set it on a stool, and then I put a 5-gallon bucket, 5-inch PVC hose and crammed it up there, and it would fill up the damn pipe. If I didn't go in there the second day and pay attention when the lights came on, I went in there to a wet floor. The second day, you go in there and empty that 5-gallon bucket of that, you know. So, yeah, it's pretty humid here. So ranting on. Yep, yeah, must be good Blue Dream. Blah 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 blah. You know.
Everyone loves Blue Dream. It's great.
I tell you, it'll knock your ass out and put you to sleep too. And this was not, and I didn't take it. It wasn't real super mature and ripe. You know, I feel like I had to take this a little early too because of some personal shit that's going on. And but I knew it was still ready. But just I kind of like the more up high stuff. But this, I tell you what, the same time when I did the other night, I smoked some of it. The next thing I know, I woke up on the couch. Like 2 hours later. So if you want Blue Dream, I will say this: the dream is right. If you smoke enough of it, you will go to sleep.
Yeah,
so you can't OD on Blue Dream; you'll pass out first. Yeah.
It's kind of one of those quantity related strains. I think these it's a modern hybrid strain. I mean, we kind of think of it as being sativa dominant, I think, but a lot of them that are just very potent. There's a lot of THC. They're uplifting, and they're in smaller doses, in smaller amounts, and then you ingest more and you go to sleep. But
exactly. I think so too, and I see that in hybrids getting to
working more modern hybrid, broad effect.
All these years, I see that I got to tell you, most of the hybrids, even the ones you think might be indica dominant, it always ends up with the sativa style leaves by the end of it'll start out looking fat, and then it'll transfer. The leaves will shrink, into thinner leaves by the end of the grow.
I think
driven me crazy.
The key to getting the sativa effects out of plants like that is just smoke less. You know what I mean? And everybody's like, "Oh my God, my tolerance is so high. Holy shit!" And yeah, it's true. But I mean, kind of not every morning. You no matter how many dabs you did the day before, you're pretty good in the morning. And if you do little hits of one of those, nice sativas, you'll get that effect. And even if it's one of those hybrids that's got kind of a heavy indica pow behind it a little bit, as long as you keep the dose down, you'll still feel a lot of that sativa thing. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying it's dose dependent in a way.
Well, I always find that sativa's the one. If you smoke too much sativa, like if you start to feel the effects and you don't stop smoking it, that you can create a little bit of anxiety for yourself by smoking too much.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
so very stimulating sativa. This Oreo right here, this is giving people some panic attacks, man, because you come home late at night and you're expecting to have a nice, mellow kickback on the couch, and all of a sudden it's like you drank a cup of espresso, and you're like, what the hell? Your mind is racing, and so I think that will give you a bad experience,
Mix
not if you're
edibles in with it.
Huh?
Mix edibles in with it.
I have a friend down here who has been making, actually for a couple of years. He works with a medical consortium up here, and they make ethanol, low temperature ethanol extracts, and he loves the Oreo is one of his favorite plants, and he says that it's incredible for killing a migraine, but don't do it in the evening because it'll keep you up all night. He says if you drink drops of that Oreo extract at night, you'll be up, which is pretty interesting. Now they're finding out about the THCV we were talking about before. The was it tetrahydrocannabidiol or something like that?
Cannabivarin.
Vivivarin.
Cannabivarin.
Tetrahydrocannabivarin. Yeah, man. Ooh, yeah. Thank you. I don't have to know nothing around here. Yeah, THCV, man. Weight loss, helping people with diabetes. Oh my God. Holy moly.
You don't talk about it, otherwise Taco Bell is going to outlaw it through lobbying.
No, it's already the big drug companies are already focusing on it. There's at least one already. They already know what it is. Of
So
course, they're
I have
already
a way.
they're on.
So if you there's some tricks you can do with how you raise your plants, and we have a trick that we've on average bumped the plants 12 to 18% in THCV. Using some of the experiments we're working with right now. Once we have that tied down, I could probably tell you a little bit more on that. But
Well, I certainly want to know because it's obviously a huge genetic factor. I mean, we noticed this years ago about the plant. People were coming. A friend of mine who was growing and selling was, people were coming back and saying that that it was an appetite suppressant. We heard this years ago. People were like, "Wow, when I eat that, I just work. I just do a bunch of stuff, and I don't eat anything all day." And that's turning out to be the science is already supporting that. We'd already observed it about the plant before. Pretty interesting.
I work
Actually,
with
appetites.
I work with another molecule called simonsin with some people that had they did testing for the FDA, yada yada yada. But it was a molecule that would suppress your appetite. They originally tried to give it to cattle because it was very high in fats and other things like that. And I thought, like, oh, great, we're going to fatten the cows up for market. Unfortunately, the cows lost weight. So I was involved with moving it into the weight loss industry because, people don't give a fuck. They want to lose 15 pounds. And, but
fatten the cows.
any of those things, it doesn't matter what it is, your body will hit a stasis with it and will eat anyway. As a plant defense, if you think of it in those terms, you've got herbivores moving through the terrain and they're going to start eating leaves off your plant. So if they are in your area and they're eating and they don't feel hungry, that's good for you. And if after a little while, whatever is eating on the plant doesn't feel like I'm getting nourished, it just naturally moves on. So, but yeah, any of these things, like, yes, it's going to be a big buzz about the THCV, but and the weight loss industry is going to go crazy with it. People are going to make hundreds of millions of dollars, but it's just this. It comes at the end of the day, it's physics.
You just suggested, Tommy, that it's a genetic thing that the plant uses to protect itself. Because when the pest comes along and eats it, it says, I'm not so hungry anymore.
So you eat less.
Holy crap.
And then you move on looking for food.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you. That was marvelous. That was very beautiful.
I wonder if anyone has taken these different compounds, different terpenes and different cannabinoids and sprayed insects with them. Or I'd be so curious to see how the compounds do individually. I know we're working with some stuff for mold resistance right now that is pretty cool. That's in the protein enzyme range. But
because cannabis has amazingly few pests, well, not really, but amazingly few considering how non-poisonous it is, how non-toxic it is, and how apparently benign it is, or at least how non-toxic it is to us. And the whole thing about plants are, insects are adapted to only eating a few species. That's one of the amazing things about spider mites, is that they don't come from the insect family, so they're adapted to eating a lot more things than a beetle or something like that. But and the whole problem is that every insect has to evolve to be able to eat whatever, and all plants create stuff that protect themselves and tell the insects to move on because they're toxic and it's too hard to eat only that plant. So
I was thinking of tomato.
If your sugars are
I know I've heard Ed Rosenthal on other podcasts talk about how the oils that the cannabis plant produces are somewhat not insecticidal, but pest repellent, you know.
You know what? That
And
makes great sense
also,
because
and also, you know, if a
because
plant
it
gets,
little
if an insect gets into the trichomes during the flowering, that it also will
that's
get
it.
stuck in there and die. So,
Yeah, well, it's the size of the insects. Insects are so small, and those are volatile oils. The terpenes are, and actually they're a little bit rough on us too, in the sense of they get we have to get them out through our livers, right? Our liver has to do it, and then so actually, you know, we have to be careful with all aromatic oils, right? You can OD on any kind of aromatic oil, which is essentially terpenes, yes.
Hmm?
But
And the
insects
lower
are very
temperatures, the better.
small.
And
Insects are little guys, right? And so for them, the dosage, you know, just one whiff it's like we can deal, you know, we're huge. It's a scale thing, isn't it? That's exactly what it is. So
never
for
thought about it
us,
like
the
that.
terpenes on the terpenes on the cannabis plant are nothing in terms of a dose. But for the insect, many of them are too much, probably.
No,
and
no, for you. I'm
remember
going
that
to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you.
I bet.
terpenes are like basically behave like a free hydrocarbon. In fact, you've seen what is it Tommy, what's the one, there's a terpene they actually some people are using for extraction. They're using limonene. There's
Lemony.
actually a handful of people using limonene for extraction. um, Limonene, along with a lot of other ones, happens to be, it's very similar to hydrocarbon. It'll actually break down some of your other terpenes when you use it as a solvent, because it starts to denature those compounds the same way an alcohol would, or the same way that
Yep.
BHO would on a chemical level. And then you end up with this broken VOCs, volatile organic compounds, and that's where you get your harshness and that cough and that shittiness and everything. So that's the reason why we need to switch to better options like rosin or some of the other stuff that's going to
That's why
come out this
rosin
year.
tastes so good.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Another
make
thing
you
I would
cough.
challenge on that whole premise is that terpenes are ultimately valuable. And I can prove it to you, point blank. The THC molecule in a sativa plant and an indica plant is the exact same effing molecule. It is, you isolate it, it's the same thing. Why does the sativa hit you different than a full-blown indica? It's the terpene. So if you think about like space-time, and that gravity tells space how to curve, which then informs mass how to move. If you look at it in this realm, you have the exact same molecule that expresses so differently from a sativa to an indica in your body. And the thing that makes the THC molecule express is the terpene groups. That's the keys to the kingdom. That's my assertion, and I'm willing to defend it.
Absolutely.
Theoretically, if your nose is trained well enough, by smelling a type of cannabis, you can tell what kind of effect it's going to have on you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Yep.
I'm not saying my nose is trained that well, but theoretically, you know.
We're all in school here. Mary Jane is the teacher, dude. That's, you know, to me, that as a breeder, the smells are everything. Everything.
I mean, because if you think about it, like whenever you take a whiff of cannabis, it smells differently because it is affecting different parts of your nasal passageway. And you can actually feel that if you pay attention to it.
Totally. Yeah.
Like some strains, you know, if they got like maybe a minty flavor, you can smell that all the way to the back of your throat, you know.
Yes. Yeah, it's irritating. The piney, the on strong indicas that are
Yeah,
often
exactly.
make you sleep. It's very like a turpentine, like pine. And actually, that resin often is very sticky too. When you touch the buds, it's a little sticky. It'll glue your fingers together. It's not oily. It's like
this
like
plant
glue.
that I have that's just getting ready for flowering. I picked a couple of buds prematurely, and dried them out for a few days and pressed them in the rosin press, and it felt like extremely minty. It was awesome. Like, it was like the most refreshing but lemony taste. It was awesome. Loved it. And you
Wow.
could taste that all the
I
way
gotta
to the
get it
back of the
pressed.
throat, like I'm saying.
I gotta get
Rosin presses are awesome. I've actually
getting one now, tomorrow.
I've been working on something that's pretty interesting,
The most
and I'll
exciting
talk
thing.
about it next week. I have to duplicate the project or the experiment that I just did in the past 48 hours, because it was interesting, to say the least. But I'll talk about more of that on the next episode when I do it again.
Cool.
Rosin pressing
And it
is
was
so
with the rosin press, yeah.
It's so cool. It's, you know, solventless, basically solventless extract system.
Yeah, basically using the own internal vapors of the plant to distill the oils,
Yeah.
you know.
And you know what's really cool about it is that it's emerging as a very skill-oriented kind of a thing, which is kind of how bubble hash has been for some time. Bubble hash is, I don't know, correct me, kids, if I'm wrong, but it's at least 20 years old as a technique. It's been around for some time, and some people have gotten really good at it, and I believe can, you know, make a living um, doing other people's, you
Processing.
know, because it's a skill, because there's so much skill to doing bubble hash. But I'm thinking that rosin is similar, is going to be hot on, already is hot on the heels of bubble hash, in the sense of being a very skill-oriented kind of thing, which is really cool, because that's what branding is about. And everyone in cannabis is struggling with branding right now. You know what I mean? Everybody's
See,
like,
well, in
and
my opinion, the
that's
thing
why
about
edibles.
cannabis is it's not so much skill oriented, but more based on the user's preference. Because I was actually having a conversation on
Even better.
ILGM
Even
today
better.
with a couple of other folks that use the rosin press, and I've been using it at 115 Celsius, and I can't remember if it was Country Boy
Well, that's hot.
or somebody else that was like, "Hey, we're going with a lower temperature for
Much
Keef
cooler than
at
that.
130." I was like, "What the heck? 130 is low for y'all, huh? I'm going flower at 115. You know, what's that about?"
Yeah.
But I'm super happy with my returns. You know, very flavorful and stable returns. You know.
You're doing 150
Slow and slow.
degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah,
I mean, if
one
Angelica,
fifteen Celsius.
Oh, Celsius.
Yeah, that's hot.
Yeah,
Celsius is
115
hella hot.
Celsius.
Dude, that's hella hot. I would
It's
never do
hella
it more
hot.
than 103 hot, 103 Celsius. It's just like
Oh well, see the thing about with this, I kind of try and make
hot
up
and
for
short.
the that little gap I was talking about with the plates, because there's a tiny little gap in there between the actual plate that makes contact with your material and the plate that heats up. And I was talking about that maybe a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure, but I've been pretty happy with the results. But I kind of bumped the temperature up a couple degrees just to make up for that, you know, loss of temperature, I guess, you know. But it's definitely doing some pretty good presses. And like I said, these other guys were talking about pressing like at between 130, 150, which in my opinion, yeah, that's super high. Like anytime I've gone higher than like 120, that it's like sizzling and almost just spraying out the side.
my mindset, my philosophy is, you spent a damn long time growing it. Take a few minutes and extract it right.
Yeah.
Just like Jesus. This is not the time to rush this thing. Put the temperatures down a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You are worth it. You grew a badass girl. You cured her. Slow the fuck down. Turn the temperatures down.
Well, pressing is like that. I think pressing is it's naturally very slow and mellow kind of procedure. Isn't that?
Yeah, and the thing about rosin pressing, I know while I was in chat, I was hearing Steve talk about how whenever you press down on your material hard before if you feel it, um, you can feel whenever the lever is ready to go further down because it'll just give little by little, and then finally you'll get to that point where it clamps down. For my rosin press, personally, it's not one of those nice fancy $6,000 ones that Steve has, but you can definitely still feel it. And if you definitely go too fast, you'll bust that parchment paper, or if you're using one of those screens, you'll bust that screen. So you got to be careful with it. And I've gone on the Rosinier website, and I've seen people talking about how it's like, oh, it's a horrible machine, don't buy it, yada yada. I'm just like, you got to know how to use it. You got to first and foremost do a little bit of research on rosin pressing and see what kind of temperatures that you're supposed to be pressing at. You know, find your temperature range and see what you like. You know.
So, Brain,
But
Green says it's becoming more of a
give me a
skill.
choice 3 or 30 minutes.
I'm sorry.
Brain, what do you say? Like, given a choice, what would you say? 3 or 30 minutes?
30 minutes of what?
Well, you know, pressing, like slowing down. So what you're saying, like,
You never
it
want to
really is
press
worth
more
it.
than you never want to
Not
press.
pushing the technology too much. Giving
Oh no.
thing.
I don't know. Well, like as far as doing the hash and whatnot, I have not had the pleasure of being able to press hash yet. Yeah, I don't even have any of those little pressing screens yet. But believe me, I've been having a blast with pressing out flour and having plenty of concentrates to have on hand. But when I do my presses, sometimes like, okay, if it's my first press, that thing will generally press down pretty softly all the way down with about 5 seconds from the time you press it down to the time it clamps down. And if you're like on your third press, you got to be a little more gentle with it. You sometimes you'll have to go up to maybe 30 seconds from the time the plates make contact to the time you're all the way clamped down, maybe even longer than that, depending on how much material you're pressing. And with me, I'm feeling really comfortable doing presses at about 1 gram of flour right now, and my returns are coming out pretty good. The rosin press is not busting the parchment paper even on the third press.
What
It just
size
depends on how
plates?
much.
What
The
size
plates are
plates?
like, I want to say 3 by 3, 3 inch by 3 inch square. But
Is
yeah,
this the
pretty
one
much
you
like
can just
between a gram, gram and a half, 2 grams, I
Yeah.
guess. But
And
using this little pollen press that I use to press it into pucks before I press it out with the rosin press, about 1.5 grams is the most I'm really able to do with that thing.
and you
And it's giving me really good returns on the first press, just pressing it into a little puck.
you bought the Dake press, right? The Dake, is it a 10-ton
No, I
press?
got the Rosinier. It's pretty much the most affordable one on the market right now for the home user. You know, I always say that for the home user because, like I just said, the plates are pretty small, 3 by 3. You know, you can. It's definitely for the personal user, but it is definitely worth the investment. Like I was saying last time, the retail on it is $400, and you can get it off of Amazon and eBay. But if you contact the I think his name is Bob Lee. If you contact him directly, he'll actually give you a coupon code to use for your purchase, and it brings it down to, I think, like $360. I think it was like 10% off, something like that. So yeah, $360. And yeah, I would absolutely recommend it.
It looks like it only does up to about 1,000 psi. Is that right? It says 120.
Yeah, I don't think the PSI is very high on it.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think it's even lower than that, to be honest, Steve. When I went and looked on the description on Amazon, I think it actually shows what it is, and it may actually be lower than that.
I'm looking on their website right now. I was trying to. Let's see.
Maybe
I think
look on
really
the
it's
reviews or questions or
Says
something like
maximum
that.
It's all,
pressure 1
you know,
to 150 psi. But
pressure
yeah,
is all
yeah, yeah.
about the size of your puck. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
size
but
of
you also got to think
the
about
thing that you're pressing,
exactly. If
right?
you
So
concentrate
if
that
you
into a tiny little, as small a
right,
space
if
as
you
possible, then you're doing even better.
yeah,
It
so if you
it
have a
ain't
very
how long your
small
puck is, it's how girthy it is.
What's that?
It ain't how long your puck is, it's how girthy it is.
and also and also it's the temperature is related to pressure. So you need
so
generally it's thought that you need more pressure if you use lower temperatures.
so let's just say, and I'll go over this because this is something else I learned in Frenchie's class. So let's say you're someone listening on the show right now. You have some plants. You can make some bubble. You can order $40 or $60 bubble bags online, or you already have some, or you happen to live near a t-shirt place and you can get some t-shirt fabric and make your own screen printing fabric and make your own bags, or you can dry sift that way. So say you have a little bit of bubble hash or a little bit of dry sift or keef. What you can do is you can take it and keef is a little bit tougher, but you could take the hash and put it into a ball. The keef you could put into a little tiny pile, okay? But you're going to do like maybe a half gram or a gram at most, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that and you're going to put it on uh, like cellophane, like turkey bags, okay? And then you put your and there's different kinds. I know Frenchie has actually a particular like food grade one that's a little bit better than some of the normal turkey bags out there. But um, I don't know if there's any truth behind it. Maybe you guys can talk about if there's any truth behind the the them selling putting something in the bag to fuck with the weed smells and stuff. I don't know if that's urban legend or not, but we'll have to look that up. But so what you do is you take your hash. So you got your bubble hash or your dry sift or your keef or whatever. Put about a half gram or a gram of that on a piece of the plastic from the turkey bag. And you put your other piece of on the top of that, other piece of turkey bag. So you're sandwiched, okay, in the clear. And then you put that on a hard surface. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take a bottle, or not a bottle, a pot, and you're going to boil some water and get it just to boiling, and you're going to get a funnel and a wine bottle, and or even a beer bottle will work, but a wine bottle is a little better. You can pour in your boiling water or just off of boiling water into the thing, put your wine cork in it, your rubber cork in it, put your gloves on, and you can use that to roll it, and that's going to be about 180 to 200 degrees, exactly where we want for a rosin press. And if you push down hard and slow, you roll it 4 to 6 times or even 8 to 10 times, and you can actually get something that's extremely similar to rosin for $20 maybe.
Yeah. No $2,000 press, no $400 press.
Yeah, and granted that the consistency will be slightly different, and it's not going to be just the same as rosin, but it'll be damn close, and it'll look like rosin, and it'll smell like rosin, and it'll smoke like rosin. It basically is rosin.
Sounds good. Valentine's Day is coming up.
Yeah. So, but if
I think we're
you're at
getting a lot of
home,
feedback from Roger's mic.
Oh, sorry. Wow, it was we didn't have a problem all night, did we? And all of a sudden,
every now and then an exit. So, but yeah, if you're at home and you're salivating at all this, you don't have money for a press. If you got a wine bottle with no label on it and a funnel and some boiling water, you in a turkey bag, you can or even some Ziplocs, something that's going to take the heat.
And heat like while you're boiling your water, you take that wine bottle and you're doing the hot water out of your hot water heater. You're getting that bottle hot, as hot
Yes.
as you can get it before you put your boiling water in it. You're not going to take a cold bottle and put hot boiling water in it. That's just called busted bottle.
It'll
That'll
crack.
shatter your bottle. Yeah, no, you bring up a good point. You do need to put your bottles in the water as you boil them. Thanks for reminding me of that. But yeah, so if you are looking for a super cheap way to make some rosin at home, or make something that you can dab, and you have some keef or some bubble or whatever, there you go. Now you can make some ghetto rosin basically, or craft rosin, whatever you want to call it. I'm not saying it is ghetto, but it's
artisan. It's artisan rosin.
artisan, yeah,
Artisan.
handmade, handcrafted. I guess is a better way to put it. I don't mean to
Could
to
you-
speak ill of that method.
Could you
Budget.
press flour
Rosin on
that
a
same
budget.
way?
Good hand job.
In
Yeah.
fact, here, actually, let me show you. I have a picture of a bunch of. I don't know if you could do flour the same way. I would imagine not. You'd probably get really poor yields. I would imagine you'd get some, but hold on, I got a really good picture.
Because people originally started pressing flour with, like hair straighteners and shit like that.
Oh
Hard
yeah,
to believe, but true.
back in the day.
Yeah, I started
Back
doing
in the
that.
day.
What happened to me? I was like Fabio before that.
Hold on.
Back in the day.
So I've been following Frenchie on Instagram for, I don't know, just a few weeks. And I had seen him using that technique that you're talking about where he presses that keef out or whatever. And basically he was describing it as his decarboxylation technique.
Yep, it does decarboxylate it as well. So here's, you guys be able to see. Oh, shit. Well, I'll have to send this to myself. Actually, here, let me send it to myself. I could put it full screen on a screen share. So I want you guys to see this. You can see the difference in the color of the consistency with the different trichome heads. Each one came out different. It was really interesting. Give me 2 seconds here. But yeah, I mean, if you're on a shoestring budget, man, that can be a great way just to get your rosin running.
I really like how we keep attention to folks who are just kind of coming up where they might have some limited resources. I appreciate you bringing that to the table, Steve.
Oh heck yeah! Well, that's how we all started.
Yeah,
Actually,
really.
I grew up. Me and my homies saved seeds from the bud we bought, and then grew some pots and tied them up into the trees, allegedly, and did it that way in order to give us a way to grow in a neighborhood that had a lot of foot traffic. So it's kind of allegedly. So it's kind of funny to see how that always works out.
So how are we doing in chat? We got any questions?
Oh, how you doing, Brain Grow? What's going on with your grow?
Not much. It's going pretty good. It looks like on the plant that's closest to harvest that it's probably going to need maybe another week or two. I was checking out the trichomes today, as a matter of fact. I had a day off, so I was pretty busy today. That's actually why I was a little bit late on the podcast. But I was checking out the trichomes, and right now they're looking mostly clear, and leaves are still pretty green. So she's telling me she needs a little bit more time. And on Ninja Fruit Pheno number 3, that is also in dual root zone. That plant is just doing awesome. It's been flowering since Christmas, and the buds are already putting on some pretty good mass. And I haven't even really been keeping up with it that much, to be honest. It's on the automatic. Everything's on timers or whatnot. I go in there, feed the fish. And sometimes I'll have enough time to get in there and spend some time with the plants. And for the most part, I just kind of get in there and make sure stuff gets done and go to bed, is that kind of situation. But, yeah, everything is going pretty good right now. I actually just barely got through cleaning out one of my grow beds because I was having slugs in the new one I was setting up for my kitchen vegetable system. So I actually just put a dual root zone plant that's going to go right behind Ninja Fruit number 1 in my small budget build-up system, the one that was originally going to be a breeding chamber. But I'll have something to go in there as soon as I get that one harvested out. So that's going to be in the extra kitchen system for now. I need to throw some seeds down. But other than that, just having a blast with my rosin press. I actually just got a new pressure cooker in today, and That's actually the main reason why I was late on the podcast, because that thing was whistling like crazy, and I didn't want to jump on the panel yet while that thing was going off in the background, me not even be able to say anything, you know. But I'm trying to get back on my mycology experiments. You know, I never really had much success, but I never really had a decent pressure cooker in the past either. So everything should be nice and sterile, you know.
What are you using the pressure cooker for? What are you using it for?
Mycology, trying to grow mushrooms.
Oh, mushrooms, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want
Sterilizing
to
the
be your
jars.
friend.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that done, and I had spent some time last year trying to do it, but I didn't really have much success, and every time I would get contamination on my jars or something, it would be so long before I would even try it again, you know. So I actually finally spent the money on a
Solution?
pretty badass pressure cooker. What's that?
Can I give you $100 solution?
What's that?
Harbor Freight. They have $114. I lied. And it's a sandblasting cabinet. Okay, you get that sandblasting cabinet, and then around the edges and stuff, it's not made to be 100% sealed. Don't fucking worry about it. Just get some of that aluminum. I think it's aluminum or a foil tape thing that you use on
Ducting.
Ducting. Yes, and you just do the edges in that tape. You will make a completely sealed box. You can take filters from breathers at Home Depot, HEPA filter sized round breathers. You can put that for your air coming in, and all you need to do is run negative pressure in there, so you have some kind of fan sucking air out of there, and you have an inoculation hood for under $150. Did I say $100? Man, I'm such a liar. But
You talking about like a laminar flow hood?
No, you know, like a glass beater, glass beating chamber, like a glass beater.
No.
It's like a
generally,
you stand up and you stick your. It has glove holes and you stick your
Sandblast.
hands in. And
Okay, you're talking about a glove box. Okay,
a
okay,
glove
gotcha,
box.
Yeah.
gotcha.
it's made for
All right,
sandblasting, but you're not going to sandblast in it, so you just have to seal it up because you're not sandblasting.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
On the edges,
I didn't catch
on the
on,
edges where you
but
just
yeah,
put-
that would be an awesome idea. You know. I've actually looked into that, and there's lots of ideas to do it even cheaper than that, you know, using some cheap starting materials, but you know,
Yeah, like
I think we all started a Rubbermaid
not far yet.
I'd
tub
rather have
and
a
some
sealed
arm
box
length,
than
Right.
some arm length
Yep,
gloves,
yep.
and some Rubbermaid and some duct tape, and we're good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm a pansy. I'd rather spend a couple dollars and have it nailed. You know, even if it's ghetto.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. In
So-
some cases, that's the best bet. Like there's there's ways to make.
So I wanted to
Yeah.
real quick while I got it pulled up here. Check out so this is the different rosins. So this is one of the finer ones. You can see this held up to the light. There's no imperfections in that at all. You can see in this one it's still a little dense there, needs to be pressed out a little more. Sorry. You can see in this one there's a little bit more grainier material, so there's a little bit of contaminant in it, not much. And you can see this one has a lot of contaminant in it. He did just a bunch of ones just that he didn't clean quite as well, so you'd be able to see, perfect, better, or perfect, not quite as good, and then something a little bit dirtier. But just to give you kind of comparison to tell you how well you're doing when you make stuff. So just wanted to show you guys that up close.
That's cool. That's different microns bag sizes. Each one of those.
Yes, so different micron bag sizes and then different runs. So like this is like wash 2 or 3 or 4, and this is like wash 6 or 7.
Right
or
on.
8, and then this is like after 10 or something basically. But he does anywhere from 8 to
using that wine bottle technique.
Yep. So this was all freeze dried bubble hash. Excuse me. That
That's pretty cool.
He did freeze dried, then he also did
I would,
one
I
where
would
he took
definitely recommend people going on Instagram and checking out the because it's actually a little video on loop where he starts it. It's the fresh, freshman. I mean, not fresh, but it's before he rolls it, and then he goes over it like 2 or 3 times, and every time he goes over it, you can see it just changing color. And it looks pretty awesome.
Oh, I did talk to Frenchie. I didn't just realize I was on mute. I was talking to myself. Frenchie's gonna be coming on the show here in a couple of weeks. He wasn't able to. I tried to get him on before his class, and then I tried to get him on this week. His schedule didn't allow it, but the next couple of weeks we are gonna have Frenchie on, and he's gonna come on and tell us all about it himself. So it'll be really cool, and just to learn from him and learn about he has such an incredible understanding of the trichomes and the trichome heads and the chemistry that's going on, and it was just incredible to hear and how much he's learned just by working with the trichome heads. He doesn't look at the flower structure at all. He's just looking at the heads. That's it. He doesn't give a shit at how it looks or how fluffy it is because he's looking for resin. He doesn't when you're growing for hash, you don't care if it's a big fluffy plant as long as it's coated in resin.
The plant is a THC factory. It's a trichome head factory.
Yep.
Right. However, it does it right on.
So he was talking. He had about a whole
oil farmers.
He had a whole 10-minute talk about how it took him years to like see the bud and like see the plant structure because he was so used to just ignoring all of that. It was kind of interesting to hear. It's like the reverse of what we go through. It was very strange, but it was really cool. So, but also Frenchie is he works with the plant, but he doesn't really not as much on the growing, but he can tell you a whole hell of a lot about the plant because of the rosin heads and all different tricks and stuff. But it was just kind of funny. I'm still asking him a grow question. He's like, "I am a winemaker. I make the wine. I leave the growers to grow it." In his awesome accent, and oh man, it was just great. And I cannot recommend that class enough. He's doing one coming up on dry sifting, and I 100% plan on taking that class as well. And if any, I will make sure that we mention the dates on his other class when he teaches again next time in San Francisco, because man, if that wasn't ever one of the most informative classes I've ever taken. So, speaking of classes,
I heard you took notes.
Oh yes, I actually took lots of notes.
So good you took notes.
Yeah. So, Charlie Schultz, Ken Armstrong, and I, and Jessica Patton are all teaching a big commercial aquaponics cannabis class, or aquaponics, regular aquaponics commercial class, 4 days, at Ouroboros Farms, and yeah, it's going to be awesome in Half Moon Bay. That'll be on March 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It also includes a farm-to-table dinner with a 4-star chef. We have a chef that we sell stuff to in the city, and he comes out and does our farm-to-tables. So you'll actually have a dinner at the farm, from a 5-star chef right there. So it'll be awesome.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Great salad.
Yep. And so that's coming up. The next cannabis class, I believe, is February 10th and 11th. I think I got to double check. I'm pretty sure it's February 10th and 11th for the next aquaponic cannabis class in Half Moon Bay. You can go on ouroborosfarms.com. They have a whole list of schedule. We did the schedule up to I think June. We just got to finish the rest of the year. But yeah, if you're looking for some cool experiences and some cool knowledge, definitely check that out. What else is going on? A lot of stuff happening up in Canada. A lot of things moving and shaking up there in the weed industry, especially in regards to us. Can't talk anything more beyond that, but things are looking up in Canada now in terms of sooner than later. And then, yeah, everything else is going great. It's interesting to see how the market's been reacting to the Jeff Sessions stuff. And then everyone seems just to be shifting to Canada, which is kind of interesting. So
I just pulled out all my old VCR copies of Northern Exposure, working on my accent, and I might be thinking about Canada.
I feel Canadian. I spent a lot of time up in the Maritimes. I used to spend summers up in Cape Breton and places up there, Prince Edward Island. I love it up there. I want to be a Canadian. I'm ready.
So Indica Dogo asks how close is San Diego? We're about 8 hours from San Diego, I would say. Tommy, you say about that 7-8 hours, depending on traffic and how fast you drive.
Up to Half Moon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can easily do it in 8 hours. Even dealing with like you get stupid and you get stuck in a bit of LA traffic, you can still do it in 8 hours. If you plan it, like making one of those coastal runs, you can do it in 6.25. But I always just give it 8.
Yep. So, but
I
yeah,
don't
so
know.
we'll have a bunch of classes coming up at least once or twice a month at Ouroboros this year, along with the really cool large commercial classes. So that'll be awesome. And yeah, I think that's about it. I don't know of anything else going on. Working on getting some more guests lined up. This weekend's going to be awesome. I'm at the regenerative. Hold on, let me make sure I get the name right. The Science of Organic Regenerative Cannabis Conference. Apparently, I've been saying the wrong word all day. I thought it was the Regenerative Organic Cannabis Conference, but that's okay. And that's in Portland this weekend, starting tomorrow through Monday. And also, if anyone's in Portland and wants to hang out for a sesh, I think me and a bunch of the DGC are going to end up over at Northwest Cannabis Club on Monday night. I don't know what time yet. I'll make an announcement on the channel. But if anyone's interested, please come check it out. That place, I think it's $10 to get in. And if you've never been there before, it's $10 for your yearly membership. It's like 20 or $25 for to get in, and that lasts you for a year. And then you just pay. It's like $5 or $10 after that when you just show up. But it's a really cool
I got my card.
club.
I got my card for there.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good place. It's totally worth going to, everybody. Good
Super
place.
super awesome place.
Good,
It's like a high-end old timey bar. Real nice woodwork and everything with live music and dab rigs and joints and snacks and all kinds of cool stuff. But you can smoke there. It's like a lounge. It's like a bar, but you smoke weed, but they don't sell weed. You bring your own.
It's a speakeasy for weed.
Yeah. So you bring your own rigs or whatever.
BYOW.
Bring your own flapper. Bring your own flapper too.
Yeah, but they do have some public stuff you can use. I mean, they have house ones you can use, and I think they even have some bigger ones you can rent too. So it's like $5 or something, and it's a pretty cool place, especially if you're looking to just bring someone in from out of town, or maybe people that haven't smoked or not used to it, or just want a meeting place that you can all meet at and smoke. I haven't been to iBake yet. Is that the one in Denver, or is that in Portland as well? Someone asked, is it better than iBake? I'm not sure. But anyways, yeah, so come check it out this weekend. We'll be up here, and yeah. Does anyone else have anything else for the show? Why don't you go tell everybody where y'all at Brain Grow? Why don't you tell people how to find you?
Make sure you go check out ilovegrowingmarijuana.com so you can check out my grow. And then make sure you check out my YouTube channel. I'm definitely going to be releasing a YouTube video within the next 7 days, hopefully before the next show. And Instagram, I've been on Instagram for a while, so make sure you follow me there.
Awesome. What about you, Marty? Or have you, I think he got Kid Aggro a little earlier. What about you, Mr. Green Jeans?
Yeah, greenjeansgarden.com. Joined I Love Growing Marijuana as well. I joined the website a couple days ago. So
oh, cool. I didn't see that. I'll have to go check it out. Give you a bump up.
I'll be stalking you. Yeah, I think I said I was Mr. Green Jeans. I'm pretty sure.
Also, made Mr. Green. So I'm a moderator, and now Mr. Green Jeans is a moderator. So for those of you that don't like Facebook and you don't like whatever our other option, I think that's our only other option right now for a text community. We have the Aquaponic Cannabis Growers Facebook group on Reddit. I'm sorry, Aquachronic group on Reddit, or Reddit/Aquachronic.
Aquaponic. That's nice.
Aquachronic, yeah, I like that
Or,
too.
no, not Aquachronic. It's Aquaponic Chronic.
Yeah.
Aquaponic Chronic.
Okay.
But if you go to our Reddit Aquaponics, it's on the bar on the right for affiliated Reddits. So yeah, it's another community for everyone if they're looking for a place to and don't want to deal with the Facebook shit, can go and post on Reddit and share their experiences and share knowledge and stuff. So please check that out. Mr. Green Jeans, I just made him a moderator over there as well to help out there. And if you guys are looking for a place, I've also thought about doing a Google group, just again to get away from Facebook. I slowly want to migrate away from it. I'm going to keep up the Facebook group, don't get me wrong, but I want to find a better central platform, because Facebook has censored the ever-loving crap out of our ability to share the show.
Yes.
No matter who posts
Stay off Facebook.
And they're just, because of this ad shit, and YouTube is also doing that. So it took from August until now for our average views to go back to where they were, because they delisted the show because it's not suitable for advertisers, because we talk about cannabis. So we went from being now I haven't even made $100 off the channel since the beginning of the channel's existence, just full transparency, and I'm not in it for cash. It only matters because it affects the SEO, and it doesn't get listed as high on search engines and stuff, so less people end up finding the content. And that pisses me off, because we spend a lot of time and effort to put it together, bring in good guests and have good discussions and provide good content, and try to research stuff and not provide bad content, and correct stuff that's out there that's wrong. And it makes it that much harder for us to even share.
And we just give away good knowledge that saves people money, saves them stupid mistakes when they're, all they're concerned about is getting some meds to a loved one. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So, I mean, they totally just crippled. I mean, you can see the exact date that they changed the monetization thing, because my view count just plummeted. Especially so I have one of my highest viewed videos per week is a video on how to and when to top your clones. And I have over 70,000 views on that, and it's only like a year or two old. I mean, it gets hundreds of views per week. And that was monetized, and they demonetized it randomly one day. And then what's really bullshit now, here, you know what? I'm just going to show you guys how ridiculous Facebook is right now. Or not Facebook, YouTube. You guys aren't going to believe this when I show you. So you guys have seen the on the channel the videos with the seedlings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So let me show you this. Make sure there's nothing that I don't.
YouTube exposed.
Yeah.
Top 10 mysteries that prove why aliens have interbred with our females.
So here, I'm gonna screen share and show you guys just how ridiculous the current monetization thing is. Because you guys this is something I've been wanting to bitch about, but I have been kind of holding my tongue, but I think I'm gonna bitch about it tonight for a second. So I can't bitch about what I really want to bitch about, but you guys will find out why soon enough. Tommy's smirking because he knows.
So look at itching to do some bitching.
Oh yeah, but you guys are gonna hear about it on the news when I do my bitching. I'll leave it at that. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it'll be nice.
Yeah, it's not a high school thing.
Yeah. So look at this. Here we have garden update number 4, germination. Okay, not a single word of cannabis or weed or anything in there. Unmonetizable, limited to no ads. How to seed plant post germination, monetizable. How to seed start, monetizable. How to start your seedlings and grow update, monetizable. So how is it that this one isn't, but these 3 are? What the hell? It's the same thing.
It's a quantum algorithm thing.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's Heisenberg's YouTube.
Haters gonna hate.
Well, they're flagging stuff that's on
Somebody from Big Pharma was like, "Oh, we can't have this."
Oh, and I will have a nutrient introduction video. I was not happy with the audio of the original one I put together this week, and I want to redo the audio on it at the farm, and I'm gonna start doing some one-off nutrient stuff videos on individual things, just to try and get a little more video content on. I'm gonna have more grow content. I'm trying to get up to 4 or 5 days a week of content for you guys. Even if they're shorter videos, 1 to 2 minute videos, just to try and up the content on the channel. So just as a heads up. So, but yeah, just to give you guys an idea of and when it means it's not monetizable, it cripples, like, you don't get in that shared recommended bar on the right hand side. People have to specifically search for you and stuff like that. So the other big video I've had on here lately is the decarboxylation video that we did with
So
I did
you're saying like the series that we're talking about doing of really laying it out for people and so that they can see how to do all these processes in like 3 short videos. They're not going to even let that be promoted. They're going to hide that.
Yep. No, it's total BS. Like it depends on what it is too. But you know what's funny? So here's another great example. So how to decarboxylation, what is and how to decarboxylate your plant material is monetizable with 24,000 views, or 2 views away from 24,000. Okay, but I have basically the identical video. Okay, the only difference was which kitchen it was shot in. It's shot at a different location. How to proper decarboxylation using mason jars. That one is not monetizable and only has 4,000 views, even though the search engine basically is going to pop up, next to each other if I do it. But if you do it as a third party, the other one comes up way higher on the list because it's monetizable. So that's the reason why you'll hear cannabis people bitch. It's not because they're trying to get money. Some of them are, but most of them, it's crippling our views, so that it just makes it harder for people to find our channels. And a lot of people aren't aware of that problem right now. So I just wanted to mention that real quick. Sorry for going off on a tangent.
No.
No, that's the man trying to keep this knowledge down. And
Yeah.
I'm actually a corporate bitch. I'm working for a corporation that I'm in love with, and I want to see it grow. But there's another side of it. Yeah, that's pretty sucky, actually.
So that's the reason why I want to move the community to a different thing. Either eventually putting something up on Ponics just as an AP forum or something, or setting something up on Reddit and just using the Reddit section as a safe place that we can all post videos and stuff and not have to worry about stupid search engine bullshit.
But just keep sharing the information. That's what it's about.
Yep.
Hey Tommy, I wanted to talk a little bit about edibles with you, buddy. For one, I had a question. I actually had 2 questions. First one is, will THC bind to liquid lecithin by itself? Like, say you have a concentrate and you add that with lecithin, like rosin, add that straight up with lecithin, maybe heat it up. Will it bind to the lecithin by itself?
To a degree. There are things that you can do, and it starts getting into thousands of dollars to encourage that even more. But for the average person doing it, no, it's way more than sufficient to get the job done. When you start getting like on an industrial scale, you start doing some other crap that's kind of like out of the pharmaceutical industry. But yeah, even just mixing it up with a blender, having it warm when you're mixing it, not too hot, like 150 degrees is fine, Fahrenheit. Mixing that up. If you have a large enough amount, you put it in the blender. That really helps things along. Up from there, you start getting to some very specific pieces of equipment that are meant for shearing and binding kind of stuff. It really gets a little weird after that.
Gotcha. And the second question I had was, have you ever tried to make cannabis infused honey?
No, I have not done that. I've read about it, and I've read several things about it, and I just turned my head sideways because honey does not possess any of the properties that you're looking for in a solvent, which is what you want it to be. You want
right.
It's like, that sounds cute, but why? And nobody's ever explained that. So, I mean, there are things you could do, like you could do your extracts and incorporate that into the honey.
You could do the coconut oil and then put the honey in the coconut oil after you do the process with the infused coconut oil,
like,
couldn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
One thing
That's
that
the way
I
I'd go.
mean,
And that was actually
since
one of my
I've gotten the
first
rosin press,
products
I felt like,
sensory, was what you're talking about there.
yeah, since I've gotten the rosin press, I feel like that's my best solution to making edibles from here on out. Like, you can extract the exact amount of oil that you want to add to whatever recipe you want to make. And then the rosin chips, I've thought about leaving them left over and then running them through like a food processor or like the Magic Bullet that'll powderize it and then add that into flour, when I make recipes or something like that,
Yeah, are you after like get baked recipes, or are you after more medicinal recipes?
And when you say rosin chips, are you talking about like your pressed flour left over? Or are you talking about like, do you put it in a
Yeah, the
bag?
pressed flour left over.
Oh, so you're not using filter bags.
No, I mentioned that earlier. I haven't even got filter bags yet.
Okay.
Yeah, like for edibles, I'm gonna sing
Yeah,
the
just for
praises.
edibles.
Yeah, for edibles, I'm gonna sing the praises of ethanol. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna sing the praises of warm extraction. And don't worry about leaving it in there for a while. It does not fucking matter if you eat some of these waxes and things like that in your edible product.
Right. Well,
Honestly,
the way I'm talking about doing it, you're using the entire, you're using everything anyway, because you press out the rosin and then you add that into, say, a butter or whatever, whatever you want to use, and then take the rosin chips and grind them into a powder and use that as well.
Utilize those chips like that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So what I do with my rosin chips, if that's what you want to call them, is we put ours in the bag and then they have the pressed bags with the rosin or plant material. We cook them down in coconut oil and I can actually pull the rest of the resin out of there. Works really good.
Right. Yeah. If I was to extract them again, I would definitely go with the ethanol method, like Tommy was talking about. If I wanted to do like an extraction or something like that, I feel like that would be most effective. Is ethanol more effective than using a saturated fat?
Yes.
Tommy.
Well, okay. Ethanol. No, we're talking about, let's be specific, we're talking about trailings. We've already taken the juicy stuff off. We're talking, how do we get the rest of the stuff out of the trailings? Ethanol is very rate.
Right.
Yeah. So it's already garbage. Can we pull something out of it?
Well, so Duarte says Everclear 190 is hard to get. Yeah, it is, but you can get something that's not. You can get like 180.
Unless you can walk down to your local liquor store like I can and buy it.
And if I can be honest, when I say ethanol, 190 is not good enough.
Yep.
It has to be 200.
Explain that, because a lot of people don't understand.
Okay. There's a couple things going on. There's polarity. Let's think about it like a magnet, okay? And so there are things that you want out of the plant, And the alcohol has its own kind of a magnet field that's going to go for the things you want. And water has another kind of polarity magnet field going after these things. And they're actually in a bit of a competition. You can get the job done, but if you're going after it, you really, really, really want to have that water out of there. And just be able to focus on one of those magnet kind of fields. And it's just polarity for grabbing the stuff out of the plant that you're after. So alcohol extractions, especially like if you're 150, like if you're doing 151 rum or something like that, anything below that, it's not the same as the potential that you have there in very, very super concentrated ethanol extractions. And with that really super concentrated ethanol, you're actually able to grab some more terpenes that you're not able to do even with like 5% water in there. Weird, it's just chemistry,
Do you want to tell them a little bit about a ghetto, what is it, the a pressure cooker, and you can screw in the valve, you can make a still out of it? I've seen people do that before online.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
There are better ways to go. You can go full on redneck. Hey, my peeps, I'm not saying anything bad here, but there are stainless steel stills that are available, and you can get into this kind of stuff for under $2,000. I would go for a reflux still, and don't do any packing. You're gonna have to manufacture some parts on your own, so they're out of stainless and stuff. Or you could use like a stainless steel kind of like marbles and kind of nuggets, because you don't need to pull the sulfides out. You're just trying to recapture the highest proof, if you will, resurgence through the thing. So you're going to set a still up, and you can buy that stuff cheaper than you can make it. Honest to God, I don't care how resourceful you are, you can buy this stuff cheaper than you can make it. You still are going to want to pack the things differently. But by controlling the temperature at the top of the still and at the condensation point, you can get your still balanced to where the temperatures are just right and all the stuff is floating up the still, but you're really not getting anything out. And then by simply changing the condensing temperatures at the top, you start pulling the ethanol out. And it's very, very, very high proof. So you can do this stuff. So like if you start with 151 Bacardi, if that's all you can get wherever you are, you can start running 2 or 3 runs through a reflux still, and you can make your own 200 proof. And there's some actual, like if you want to get stupid about it, which I suggest, there are beads and stuff that will dehydrogenate stuff that will pull the last remaining water out of it. But when you extract with that kind of ethanol compared to any ethanol that you've done before, it'll blow you away, man. Ethanol is actually really pretty cool. And then when you're trying to get the ethanol out of the last of your wash, you're trying to do that in as broad of a surface area as you can, and that's the trick. Getting that a much bigger surface area to let that ethanol come out when you're doing your extraction at the end there. But yeah, you can get some really good medicine like that, even out of trash, like we're talking about here, Brain Drop.
Interesting. Thank you for all of that, sir.
Yeah.
DIY with Tommy. All right. Well, how do people find you, Roger?
Well, we're in our slow. We're doing a little bit of. I'm at ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, and I'm working on some websites that no use in mentioning them yet. I don't like people to show up before I got them ready. Might have something for you and your situation, about Facebook and all, somewhere you can call your own and do and promote and use your SEOs the way you want to. I might be able to help you out with that. It just simply put you on a server that, you can always get your own too. It's really not that hard. I don't know if you've ever done it, but you can actually go. So you have to watch out though. Some hosting places don't like cannabis either. but if you find a good hosting company that doesn't have a problem with you promoting cannabis, you can just buy your own little hosting account for a few bucks a month and put all the websites and little links and stuff and promote all you want to do. So
I know, it just can be.
I'll look forward to talking to you about that later, maybe. But I'm just hanging out at the forum, helping the guys out. We got a great moderation team there, and hell, I end up working with them, helping them out with issues that they have across the membership or, on the forum more than I do actually getting to help people grow half the time anymore. I just took a few days because of this winter we had. And, I asked Robert them to give me a few days. I didn't have to go and be responsible for, anything on the forum because I needed a break. I just celebrated my 3 years working with ilovegrowingmarijuana.com, which is really cool. And they took care of me, over Christmas, and all the moderators, they get, we promote a lot of things for Amazon, and the company gets affiliate fees for doing that. And every Christmas they buy all the moderators a nice present and let them pick what they want on Amazon up to, like if they give them a big gift card and all. So we just went through that and finally got all the 12 Days of Christmas contest winners taken care of. I think there might be one or two stragglers that weren't able to use the codes we gave them, and that's about it. I'm just hanging out here at the farm, trying to get this cold snap over. I think we're going to have a nice week, and I'm going to get outside and do some work. And I think I've got my greenhouse is all grown over with blackberries. I think I'm going to go harvest all of that matter, the entire plants and all, and do some ferments so I can do some experiments along the lines of what we talked about last week, where we try to do the grow, with just the ferment, the blackberry ferment, since it's got the silica and all the other necessary nutrition. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that actually, how well that works out, because I can always throw a plant at an experiment like that just to see what it overall comes. I don't need to do a side-by-side right now. I just want to see that I can grow a nice little plant, that gets a decent yield and high quality organic matter in the end. What do you say? All them heads, all them trichomes.
A million heads are better than one.
That's right. So, and I appreciate all you guys that come over and join. I think it's a mature forum, and I appreciate Mr. Green Jeans. I didn't realize you had gone ahead and joined. I missed that. Well, because I was on vacation, like I said, till this Monday. And Brain Grow does a great job over there, and he's got a few people. In fact, we can attribute a couple of people that follow the show now live from Brain Grow's activity on the forum. So it's kind of working both ways. So it's really cool.
Yeah, trying to keep that aquaponic side active over there,
Well, it's new to a lot of people, in a way. It's not new, but it's new to a lot of people, especially there. So when we opened that part of the forum, it did give people an option. But you got a few people following you along. I mean, seems like you got some interest in there, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Indica Doggo, and probably about 2 or 3 other people that regularly comment on there that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, definitely.
Well, and it'll take time because, there's so many forums, and like you said, like we were talking about, there's so many Facebook groups now, whether it be a monetized site or a group or whatever, that, you know, a lot of people don't go to the forums as much anymore for that stuff too. I think it's something that takes a little time, because I'd like to see more interest in it.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. Like it's not their first place to look, you know. But it generally is probably the best place.
So
yeah, it is nice to have the culture go started there though, so we can share that knowledge, because I think the more as we continue to grow and have many new members all the time, and I think that, you know, it'll just be a matter of continuing to. Already got everybody in their niches and their grow journals. You got some massive grow journals going on there, you know, with a bunch of different techniques. And I don't force anybody into their technique. I kind of let them, if they put their own grow journal out, they want to teach their technique, I just let them go. I let the membership, you know, decide whether they want any part of it or whether they think there's anything viable in their methods and teachings. So it's pretty open, and as long as you're decent to other people and treat people decently, you know, kind of like I live and let live, and don't cuss out and call people stupid. We're good to go over there. So what you want to say, Tom?
I'm just saying, data talks, bullshit walks.
We have a question in chat here. Where can I buy 200 proof alcohol?
The only place I've been able to source it is through people that have farming kinds of operations going on.
I was going to say Ag Supply.
Yeah. And
find
so,
an Ag Supply in your region, and they might even deliver it to you a lot cheaper than you could ever imagine. Because they have trucks and routes. You know,
find your local moonshine maker.
People in your area. No, better than moonshine. Much better. It's actually.
Yeah, but I'm saying they have all the equipment. You can just explain the process to them.
Yeah, it's actually pretty tricky making the 200 proof, especially the food grade, and I insist on the food grade. You either need somebody who's getting it by 55-gallon drums, or somebody who's breaking it down. But if you talk to 5 people in your area that are involved in your same hobby, you'll find the person who has the 200 proof. I mean, it's basically a solvent that professional extractors use.
What is Tommy? What is food grade ethanol? Like
oh yeah, I guess
what does that mean?
Kind of a
Everclear.
Yeah, you're getting the ethanol that you want to use. You're going to spend, and you're going to spend some money on this. Don't get me wrong, and that's why you want your still, because you want to keep recapturing it, because it's expensive. You're easily looking at about $100 a gallon for your solvent. This is not stuff that you mix up in the bathtub with a bass motor.
For the 200 proof?
Yep. Yeah. So this is highly refined pharmaceutical, food grade, you know, kind of stuff. It's actually one step under pharmaceutical grade. So this is not even ethanol that you're looking at putting in with fuel mixtures or different stuff like that, or, you know, all the stuff. This is point blank. You can deal with this as food. Now, you would never do that to somebody because 200 proof ethanol would kill them, but it's totally clean enough to be using in those processes. And when I'm doing extracts, that's the only stuff I'm willing to use. Now, it's expensive, which is why I recapture it, and I go through refluxing to recapture, because it lets some of the terpenes and the things that are escaping drop back down into the column. And then you're only capturing a very high grade ethanol at the end that you can run back through your system.
And the food grade, it just comes back in simple terms. It's just a matter of that's a rating that determines that it is safe and pure enough to use to make food that could be edible and sold in a store.
Yeah, this is used a lot in agriculture, feeding equipment, things like that.
Right.
There's some things, like in agriculture, you don't want to spray bleach on them. You need, you know, solvents like this. And then there's other things across multiple industries related with processing product that, you know, is grown, that ethanol is the ultimate solvent for it. So it's out there, and people in your area who are involved in the same hobby that you are, you talk to 5 of them. Within 5 people, you're going to find the person who knows where that is in your local area.
He's got the 200 proof plug.
Yeah,
So-
do side by side. It'll blow you away how much better the solvent is and how much easier it is to pull out. And it's really pretty trippy. Just that last 5% of water.
So there's a let me find it here. Okay, there's a question in chat. Have you guys seen the extract cractor turbo? It's like a magic butter machine, but it's for ethanol extracts and recovers the alcohol. It's $5.99 on Amazon.
Yes,
I've never heard of
I've
that.
seen that. Yes. It hasn't, it's only been out about 2 years, and it hasn't had a lot of reviews by a lot of other people. It looks really interesting. It looks like an interesting
it?
thing, but it's a very
Extract
new
cractor?
product. Yeah, it actually, it recycles the ethanol. So it, you know, that's the idea of it, is that it,
How many feet?
You can get like a countertop distiller where you can actually do something like that, where you use your ethanol as your solvent and then redistill it.
Yeah, no, you
This-
can't. How many
this
feet
device
tall
is
is it?
just-
How many feet tall is it?
it's very small. It's assuming that you've already
It doesn't do
washed,
it. It doesn't do
you've
it.
already done a wash.
No, it doesn't do it. It has nothing to do with that side. Everything you're saying is absolutely 100% true. You can capture everything you want out of the plant, but now it's a different thing you have to think about. It's like, okay, how do I get the alcohol back out of that?
Yeah,
And
that's
you
what this is.
can't
All
use
this
the
thing is
alcohol
for. It's like
without
assuming you've already
several-
got the wash.
You need several feet of column, and you need to like either be running bubblers or different kinds of packing in the column to cause the refluxing in the column to keep pulling, let's call it solids, out of the column so that only the alcohol evaporates off. The problem with the solvent, the best solvent you got, is a solvent that's really, really close to the thing you want. It's just a little bit more harsh. And that's the case of ethanol compared to the things we're after in cannabis. So you need to physically...
This thing is it's a vacuum device. It has a vacuum. It vacuums. It takes it down to a certain temperature.
But it's still not going to get you to 200 though. You need to have the what's it called again, Tommy? The thing that bubbles at the top.
I was skeptical.
It's called a reflux column.
That's it.
Is really what you need to do. And then there are actually things you want to do to pimp out your reflux column along the way.
And you see those you'll see those reflux columns on like the short path distillers. If you ever see the short path distillers, and it has that funky weird, almost percolator looking kind of contraption. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Right there where the temperature changes.
Yep.
Can't you just use? You could just use a little. You just use a vacuum chamber, a degassing chamber.
The physics remain the same at lower bar pressure. You still, no matter what your pressure is, you could do it at the top of the mountain or at sea level, or you could induce a vacuum. The basic physics of separating within that pressure still remain the same. So throwing a vacuum on it doesn't necessarily help. You could maybe condense the system down from 4 feet down to 1 feet. Yes, that's cool. But you're introducing another variable that you're going to have to then, again, tightly control. And then also, if you're doing it under vacuum, it gets a little weirder on the condensing end of capturing the alcohol.
Alcohol, yeah.
Have the entire capturing that under the same vacuum in order to maintain your pressures through the system so that your temperature change at the top of the reflux column actually means what it does.
I think the only reason for the vacuum is to do lower temperatures and supposedly preserve more terpenes. I think that's the reason why people do it, I guess.
And that's valid. And yes, setting a system up like that, now you're talking Cadillac. That's totally valid. You don't have to, but yeah, that is
I
Cadillac.
understand. You still have to recapture the alcohol, which is just as difficult. Doesn't matter whether you do vacuum or temperature, whatever.
Yeah, and if you're doing
It's
this
just the same problem.
and if you're doing this on any kind of scale, go get some damn stainless. Don't kill yourself. You're evaporating off alcohol. Don't blow anything up. You can blow
Yeah, it's
yourself
still
up.
gonna blow up.
You can do a flash fire with ethanol. I mean, I haven't done it, but I've seen videos of it, and you can absolutely. It's not as like BHO. You're not gonna blow the windows out of your room, but you're gonna have a bad day.
Oh,
The cops are
yeah,
probably
yeah.
gonna call you.
Spend the money now, and just
You're gonna singe your eyebrows off.
with
Yeah.
all extractions to get into the game fair where you can say, yeah, I got some game on this. This is the cheapest arena to get into is some good ethanol extracting. It's the safest, but it's still a snake. Don't ever forget it's a snake. Yeah.
It can bite.
Yeah, don't ever forget that. Shit blows, man. It really does. I raise teenagers. I know. Shit blows.
Actually, we had a. Oh, never mind. I shouldn't talk of. We had one or two interesting things happen with one or two of our experiments. No fires or losses of pressure, but definitely one or two times where things were not where they should have
All
been.
hands on deck. All hands on deck.
Yeah, everyone got all their fingers. No, I'm just kidding. No, we've never had any kind of accidents, but we've definitely had one or two times where it was like, maybe we should dial this back a little. So, but it's always good. That's how you learn. You know, there's so many cool things that people figured out. By
Something
looking
to be
something up.
aware of is when you're playing with different pressures and different temperatures and liquids, and you're really trying to accelerate the exchange rate off the surface of getting your solvent out of there. The product could do something called thumping, and thumping can make things go weird so fast, and all the stuff like with fluid dynamics and thermodynamics and trying to understand that is fascinating. And I'm really slow. It takes me a long time to get that stuff. And when the thing's thumping, you really don't have time to do the math, but it does get exciting. And that's the reason why you do it someplace safe, because your ultimate response to your still is run.
There's a thing called a bump chamber, a bump pod, or whatever, right? It's a part of a still.
Pod. And what you're actually doing there is you're introducing downstream from the distillation out of the mash. At that point, you're introducing maybe like you're making a gin. And that's where you're putting your aromatics into the alcohol stream. So the alcohol's coming off is seeping through your aromatics pumper chamber and then going into your collection condenser.
Oh, I thought it was to prevent that action of bumping, but it's not. It's to add smells.
The preventive thumping is really paying attention to keeping things stirred generally. That's why you'll often see you'll have things in a heating pot that has this magnetic spinner in there. So you can do stuff on a pretty small scale, let's say 13 gallons or under, really pretty safe at home. That's pretty groovy. You start getting above that, you don't want something bigger than that to be your first rodeo, because while it's generally very, very safe, when it does go wrong, it goes really, really wrong, really, really fast. That's the problem. But there are some if you are doing a larger setup, but if you're doing a mash is one thing. You could put some rocks or something like that in the bottom to make sure you're getting better heat distribution down there. But if you're doing your stilling, where you're trying to capture the things you pulled out of your plant, you have to be really, really careful because you have to control your heat and your temperatures. Because like you can't have a direct heat source in contact with your collection bin at that point because you're going to start burning uh, the extracts that you're getting out of the plant. And you definitely don't want to do that. So if you're distilling for cannabis extraction, it's actually a whole nother extra fun world. It's worth it though. Totally worth it.
Cool.
And someone asked, hey, I think I'd rather put that money towards a rosin press, and it's like, well, you could, but that's we're talking about two different things. A rosin press is for smoking and making rosin and all that, and this is for doing edibles and that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two different creatures.
Medicinal.
It's the yin yang thing,
Yeah.
And also, we originally got into it because we were talking about what to do with the chips, leftover chips from the rosin pressing.
Wait, I was actually talking about using the rosin press for the whole thing. I mean, either way, the rosin press makes it so much easier to dose your edibles.
Yeah.
Yep. In fact, let me go back to this here. Pull up the Aquaponic Facebook group, by the way, has been really growing lately. I wanted to just say a big thank you and shout out to everyone that just joined. We've had 51 members new members in the last week alone, so we're really growing now. We hit some kind of tipping point, and all of a sudden, everyone's interested. But there was a really cool post. 2 seconds to find it here. On a guy. First off, congratulations! Greece is going to legalize. So congrats to Greece. But there was a cool post on here by a guy from South Africa, who was like, "Hey, like I grow cannabis. I just started doing aquaponics. I did aquaponics for a little bit, and then I found your show and really inspired me to grow cannabis and aquaponics. And thank you so much." And he posted his pictures of his first harvest on there, and I just thought that was so cool that like here this guy's on the opposite end of the planet, like pretty much in every way, and he's learning from us and jamming out with us, and so
I love when that stuff happens.
Yep.
Yep, I love it. I love it. I love it when a guy that was a 60-year-old guy joins the forum and buys our seeds, and we teach him how to grow. He enters the Bud of the Month contest and wins. That is so cool to have that happen.
One love.
Man, it's cool. That's why we do it. So we're not really getting rich doing this. Maybe one day.
Hey, I love people. I was raised by humans as a child. That's why I still do this stuff.
I heard it. Human beings. See, one race. Human beings. See, not colors, not Republican and Democrat. One fucking human race. Take care of the human race.
As long as you smoke. If you don't smoke, we're pushing you off the raft. Okay.
Well, what about vape? What about those of us who like to vape?
I'm flexible.
As he says as he twists it.
What about dabs?
I think it's the point that if you don't push them off the boat when you get to the island, they won't help you grow and process the shit. So
all right, you don't have to.
Are they going to be?
You don't have to smoke, but you can't tell me I can't. Okay, that's how flexible I am.
Okay, here we go.
You can't tell me I can't.
We win, Roger.
Well, I think this guy just messaged me here. I think this is him.
Yeah, so much for a short show.
There's a guy. Shout out. There's a gentleman who from New Mexico as well, who said he's been watching since episode 3 of the podcast, which is 72 episodes ago. So thanks for your continued support, brother.
That's fantastic.
That's dedication. Yeah.
That's better than my record.
Yeah.
And as always, shout out to all the viewers that we end up tuning in live, man. Y'all are awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. And all the great questions and content. And, at 3 or 4 times today, someone asked a question and we ended up talking about some other, in-depth topic. It's, we love this. And who knows? If we keep having good content, maybe we'll push the show to 10 normally instead of 9. But we ended up starting late today too. So, alrighty. So, should we wrap up the show and then do you guys want to stick around and do an after show, or you guys want to crash out this week?
Well, I'm ready to beat my face into a pillow.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
pretty
ready
roughed
to
up.
beat my face in the pillow when we started the show.
All right. Well, maybe we'll just call it this week, and we'll get back next week when everyone's a little bit more settled. So, thanks everyone for watching. Again, be sure to check out all of our stuff. I'll have more stuff on my YouTube channel. I'll have another update from the grow when I get back on probably Tuesday or Wednesday. I fly back on Tuesday, but I don't know if I'll feel like doing a garden video when I get back. So, yeah, I'll have more updates next week. Just out of town, so that's why I'm not getting any. And yeah, we got some other cool stuff in the works. It's working on building out a new grow, so that's going to be cool. So we'll have some, again, more grow content coming up. It's been a lot of fun. It's been very therapeutic after dealing with a bunch of licensing stress. So that's been good for the head, you know. So, all right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. And thanks for everyone for watching. And we might do random updates over the weekend from the regenerative farming thing. If anyone's around, there's also an event 7 to 9 each day during the event. I think it's only $35. So if you're working during the day and you still want to come visit and see Jeff Lowenfeld and hear him talk a little bit in the evening, I know they're kind of doing like a meet and greet kind of thing as well. It's a little more affordable if you don't have much money. So definitely check it out. It's kind of a cool thing. Charlie was supposed to come on. Charlie had something come up with family agro. So he wasn't able to make it onto the show. So I do apologize. We will get him on again next week. So, all right. Thanks a lot, everyone. And we will catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for watching.
Nighty night.
Mighty fine plans you got there, Mr. Green Jeans.